I think this has been a success regardless, and they're going to get shot out by Biel as he's been able to survive through the majority of this game. So that's a nice little start. Getting destroyed, gets himself Himas. Can he get himself all three? He said the story. Yes, he gets it. What a recovery!
On fire. I wonder what the comms are like right now. Mime's a very vocal guy. I love that. Drafting coming into. Oh, look at that!
Trying to go for the res regardless. Great throw on that one. As of course, with 2 players down, they have to make a play happen here. Vox, the spearhead now, trying to rev on down as Snake has continued.
To an extent, they're split, and then you have all of that.
Time to send it, see what you can get, and look at this. Everybody's taking shots.
Yeah, that shift was pretty rough for Falcons there. But
P90 might just be too much to deal with in the end, and Luke 12 finds another one. Baron will go down and kiss the last one alive. He's been spotted through the smokes. Luke 12
Better. RBN, who we just heard from a second ago, finds Purdy Curdy and gets the knock on to him.
Yeah, they've been completely silent.
Be consolidated with likes of Falcons, Gen G, and Fury have to go, but Falcons already stretching their way out. SDG get caught not just once, but twice.
where these guys are, they're going to have to leave that spot eventually. And another knock coming in, big nade, and now Penta is just going to crash in, and that is pretty much academic. Duel will take a...
He gets himself one. LFP stands in the open, but he's shut down by Hot and Spicy. It's a 3 versus 1 now. Make it 3v none.
For a team like New Gen All-Stars that are sitting up at the top.
Yeah, oh, that's a great shot from Gladiator. Now he's got Nzeto to deal with. There's a pig battle. Do not get the headshot multiplier. So this fight really works in favor of X10. Big nade launched on the edge, and it does a ton of splash damage to 2. That's a focus on to X10. X10 lose 2 in the blink of an eye. Mars is going huge on the opposite side for his team. Mars steps through and he gets another one. Is he going to get all 4?
Safe until suddenly it's not. Here comes the speaking of it's safe until it's not. Oh my God! Base have injected and a little bit of this hillside cliff that drops down over into the, I guess, the center and the west of what we're watching. K-Mine though.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching around the world. Welcome, my friends. It is time for the first phase of what is about to be a wild PAS couple of weekends. My name's Tavis. I'm joined by Gibson and Matra as we get ready to break down all the action here. Started out with Gibson, our friend from across the pond. It's a little late over there. How are you looking forward to today's games?
Not late, it's early. It's early and I am ready to go and get stuck into the action today. Look, it's been a lot of weeks, 5 weeks of cups leading into this. We're welcoming back our global partner teams and regional partner teams. Like, this is the best the Americas has got, and I'm ready.
Nice. Matcham, someone who knows a little bit about getting up early to broadcast over the last month or so. You understand what Gibson's going through. Are you excited about being back at the normal time with our NA lads?
Human time and on Americas. Like, this is what I've been dreaming for. And like, to follow in with what Gibson was talking about, this is a carryover all the way from PGC. Performances based off of how they played there are going to have an impact going into today, and I cannot wait.
All right, let's run through the housekeeping, the things you guys need to know. The schedule is important because it is 4 weeks of action. Playoff 1, Finals, Playoffs 2, and Finals 2. And we'll continue to track that format through you guys throughout the month, so you have an idea of how the journey is progressing for each and every one of these teams. Now, when I mention those teams, let's talk about who is playing, the list of participants. We'll throw that bad boy up there because I think it's going to be a little bit unique matchup. We're seeing some roster changes, some differences, some teams who came up to the cup system that like a lot of folks haven't even heard before.
Yeah, and there's also going to be a lot of different moving factors whenever we look at this. So what we're looking at is international performances from last year, top 8, as well as the cup series that we had come through. That's going to be the top 8 that are going to be competing today. It's going to be a rotating fashion of the way we look at this, and it's going to be intriguing because there's been shakeups in a lot of different factors, but the most notable one, of course, is the roster swap that's happened between the Falcons.
Yeah, that Gibson, that was a big change.
It was. Look, I think this is the first time I'm ever going to cast any iteration of this Falcons roster without H-Win on it. So for me, this is a new world. It's a new day. They obviously brought in Gustav, a player with incredible experience from Europe. But, you know, you see all the messages going out there. Like, you're replacing one of the best IGLs in all of PUBG history.
With one of the best IGLs in PUBG history. So I think it's going to be a fascinating transition, right? Let's go back to this in just a little while. We'll talk about the teams because there is a lot going on, but I want to walk you guys through some of the format and other things that are going to be coming your way. I will say this. The fact that H-Win, I believe, takes the field almost right away in this event is going to be fascinating to watch as his team gets up and running. Also, we are going to come back around because there are some big surprises that came out of the early stages matchup that I think I'm going to have to go with you. There's a couple of teams that have been absolutely phenomenal. Before we get to them, here's who is playing in day 1. The moral of the story is advance here, right, Matt? You need to do your best. You need to get qualified. Which of these teams that you look at do you think have that highest chance of making the Big 8?
Oh, well, you have some curveballs in here, right? Whenever we're looking at it, you have to assume, of course, like, performances coming up from Team Liquid. This is a squad that desperately needs to find, like, their footing back after what was going on the international stage. Falcons with their switch-ups that have happened, but Rock, Bestia, all expectations high on them. Athletes of Christ, Copenhagen Wolves, and Dual, though, I think have a big upswing that we're going to be looking at today. This is squads that we can know are ridiculously powerful, names that you know, on rosters that you're familiar with, but also not really familiar.
So real quick, let's go to the format, Gibson, before I go back to you on Athletes of Christ specifically, because I'm pretty fascinated by this team and how they did in the Cups. The playoffs are relatively simple. We got 16 teams coming in. It's based on their performance in the Cups, as well as a few other things like placement in the early stages, etc. The teams that play today, if they make the top 8, they go to the finals, all right? Yay for you. If you don't, you roll over to day 2, and the bottom 8 here will take on the next 8 top teams that came out of the previous system, so on and so forth. But here's the problem. As I understand it, day 2, only top 5 qualify. And then, Gibson, day 3, only 3.
Yeah, today's the easiest day to qualify from if you're any team in this lobby, right? The top 8, so 50% of this lobby today will have 1 day of playoffs and it's straight to finals. It's even harder than tomorrow night, as you said. It's only the top 5 go through tomorrow, and then the top 3. And when it's 5 maps, and you guys have seen internationally, over the course of 5 maps, the top 3 could be separated from maybe the next 3 or 4 teams by 2 to 3 points. Like, this is going to be really tense. And don't be surprised if one of the big dogs maybe slide into day 2, and then all of a sudden things get a lot more difficult.
The point system is what you guys are used to. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Matt, what I will say to counter to Gibson's point, though, is as you get through to the later days, theoretically, the quality of lobby falls off pretty significantly.
Yeah, personally, I would think that day 1 is going to be one of the harder days. Mathematically, Gibson's right. I mean, it has the most that you can get through, but that's whenever you're having to compete against all the big dogs, right? And that's going to make it a lot harder. So if you're a mid-pack team, I would feel like day 2 is your best chance of survival coming in. And then day 3 is just going to be the most brutal, because that's whenever the lobby is technically, yes, quote-unquote, going to be the weakest, but that's also when the least come through. I feel like day 2 is going to be our up-and-comers, and then day 3 is going to be chaos. Day 1, if you're like a signed team and you don't make it, that's going to be a curveball for me.
I like that idea, Gibson. Prize pool is what we're playing for. That's cool. You guys understand that. Gibson, I love this idea of the second day is as maybe a moving day of sorts, right? Not only in the sense of this tournament, but maybe a chance for us to see the future movers and shakers of PUBG, especially out of the Americas region.
Well, I obviously borrow heavily from golf all the time, and I always called Saturday moving day, but I think it's a curious one, right? Because you'd expect that Falcons, Liquid, Rock will be gone, but then that's when I think that you'll see some of the up-and-coming teams make a real impact. Like, I want to see, can the New Gen All-Stars, a roster that's full of players from North America that we all know, they call themselves the New Gen, but there's nothing really New Gen about them. They're as old gen as you can possibly get. But I want to see how they perform, right? Because when it is top 8, if you have 2 or 3 bad games, but there's only 5 maps, 2 good games could be enough to qualify you through, like we've seen in the past. A win in map 5 could see a team go from the bottom of the table to the top 8.
Now, let's talk PGC points for a second, because this is relevant matchup. There's a reason people are asking maybe, okay, why are the top teams, why are these, like the Falcons, going to be here to play in the finals? A big part of that is these PGC points, and I think based on that 250, do you believe there's a real chance that the PAS PGC points that are rewarded could impact the actual bids to PGC at the end of the year?
Oh, in Americas, it's highly likely because we've been having a lot of like switch ups that are going on. The way that the points are going to be accumulating, I feel like we might see a couple of squads have some falter moments. Usually in Americas, we have like a squad that starts the year really strong, falters in the middle, and then we have like a new up-and-comer that steps in. I feel like those points are going to be very valuable for specifically the squads that are going to be on the rise on the tail end of the year that might not have had the easiest berth into, let's say, like the PGS series.
That makes sense. I get where you're 100%. I do think that it's going to be a fascinating development because I would argue, and maybe I'm wrong saying this, Gibson, you're half and half, so maybe you'll have a better answer. It feels like I watched some of that PEC today, and some of their top teams are absolutely brutal in the early stage. I feel like maybe the PGC could have even a bigger impact for points here in this region because it's so tight over there. Like, there's a chance to find points here that you may never get a chance to at PGS going forward.
Oh, 100%. Look, I think that one of the good things about the Americas is the fact that I think we've got a more defined power structure of where teams lie in the lay of the land. And in Europe, I think there's a lot more teams trying to get in. But I'm looking at it, right? Like for Falcons, for Liquid. I think for Liquid, particularly after how the year started, PAS is going to take on heightened importance for them. Like, you're talking about picking up PGC points.
Yeah.
They were poor, right? And yes, we get it. They lost one of the best players in the region and Sparking. You know, he moved on. But Cowboy is the next big thing, but I think there will be teething pains for them. But those teething pains have got to stop now because these next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're going to basically set the next 3-4 months up for these teams.
Teething pains. Teething pains was last year, Gibson. Liquid was my pick to possibly win PGC, and here we stand going, maybe they'll make it today. So I need them to grow some fangs. And when we get a chance, let's pull up those teams who are playing again today, because I do want to talk, or even all of the teams, to be honest, because this is going to be a unique lobby. Yes, we have our favorites. We have our Falcons. We have our Liquids. You know, we know these guys very well. We will see our big teams, the regional partners coming in at the end of this. But the rest of those guys, for me, there's some fascinating rosters on here. I want to open up Matchroom with the Athletes of Christ. Horo messaged me earlier today and said this is the team to watch potentially coming out really strong early on. Haven, LFP, Fauna, Tony, tell me, why is this team so good, and did you expect it from day one?
Well, whenever we look at the Cup Series, they were by far dominant. There is no other way to describe that. But remember that we didn't have the regional partner teams that were involved. So being the best of the best at that stage is very good, and they were playing like they were the best of the lobby. There is no doubt on that. Now, once they're going to have a lot of their rotations assaulted, they're going to have to start dealing with teams that are also a bit more, I guess, synergized. It's going to be intriguing. But this squad, I think, has a firm grip of a new present meta that is developing, specifically on how to play around BRDMs, the way that they use mortars. They don't have fear in the way that they play like an up-and-coming squad, because they're not. I mean, this is a ridiculously experienced squad. So really, it's just going to be about how they feel like they're going to slot in whenever all of the regional partner teams are now part of that mix. And are they going to come out with gusto to kind of put their foot down and be like, no, we're here to play? Or are they just going to try to figure out how they slot into the system? That's my question with them.
All right, so here's my question for you guys. I'll wax philosophical for about 30 seconds to give you time to come up with an answer. I want to know, of those teams that are taking the field today, who do you think are 3 teams that we could probably put a marker on and say, I think these teams are going to go the distance? So pick your 3. I'll come over to you in just a second because I do want to get your insight. Picking a winner is impossible, right? But I do think in this lobby, we can maybe take a look at some of those lists and see who's going to go the distance. I think Athletes of Christ for me is a really a go-to. But a lot of these teams I'm excited about. I am fascinated about how Dots is going to do on the last day of play, right? This is a team that has well-known players that are sort of like pub stars. They love coming out for open qualifiers. They've got the experience to deal with the chaos of the final day. So, day 3, come back. We're going to watch the Dots take the field, and I think it's going to be more than just an ellipses. Gentlemen, I'm going to start with you, Gibson. Give me your 3.
Look, I'm not going to go and pick the easy answer. I'm not going to say Falcons, Liquid Rock. I'm going to go out there and say I think Copenhagen Wolves will make it through. Like, the addition of H1 to this roster with Snakers in there, with Flood, is going to make them really, really strong. I also think Athletes of Christ are going to make it. We saw the X-Team, you know, they used to be Team Mira. I think they've gotten over the issues they had when the big dogs came in last year. So I think those 2. And then just because it's the easy answer, I suppose I will say Falcons then. But yeah, I'm going to say Athletes of Christ and Copenhagen Wolves.
This is what I like about Gibson. He says, I say give me 3, and he goes, I'm not going to give you the easy answer and pick Falcons, but
Well, I
it's
had to
one of
pick
my
one.
answers. Go ahead, Matro.
I'll even go further on this one. I won't give you a regional partner team in my list. I'm assuming that
love
most
that.
of those should do pretty well. So let's look at 3 that I think that are going to be up and coming. Athletes of Christ, easy win on that one. If they don't play well, I will be utterly confused. Behind that, I think that New Gen All-Stars should be perfectly fine coming into this. I think that they should be able to qualify. Maybe not today, but should be able to be okay tomorrow. And then after that, there's a couple of the different ones, but I'm actually going to go with a little bit more of an outlier. Wasn't necessarily the flashiest and wasn't the highest point generating, but did generate decent points. I was kind of impressed with the way that we saw X10 play. They are a much newer lobby whenever we look at how this team, much newer team in this lobby, I should say. And they weren't flashy, but they were efficient. They do still need to clean up some of their firefights, but I think that there's a really decent chance that they should be able to make it through.
I can't wait to see what they get. I also can't wait to see what No Way's got. I can't wait to see what Team Fate, Rent Free. It's going to be an awesome day of play. Game number 1.
And away we go. It is time to get this plane up in the air, and we have 8 spots available to play for, but we take the best of the best through the Cup Series and stack on our regional partner teams, and it is going to be a very interesting day to see how the new faces climb up against the ones that have been playing on the international stage so far this year, Gibson.
Going to be a lot of fun, but obviously we cannot kick off the night without talking about the big change. H1 leaves the Falcons roster after years of international, I'm going to say dominance at times, and finds himself on a new home with the Copenhagen Wolves picking up the spot that Seifu was holding. But Matt, what do you think that H1, that Hunter, is going to bring to this team? Because Snakers and Flood are incredibly experienced already.
Well, it's going to be intriguing because, okay, it's Americas, right? These guys know each other pretty well. H1, Snakers, Flood, Vox, these guys have all had a lot of interactions, been on land together at different times. I'm going to be intrigued on how the shot calling differences come into play, right? Because whenever we look at the way the Copenhagen Wolves have played in the past, whenever they were mission ready or anything else like that, it's been a lot on Snakers' performance to really kind of key them in and get them qualified for stuff. That's going to put a little bit more stress onto H1 to make sure that he's always in the prime position, whereas Falcons spread the love a little bit more across how everything was going.
Yeah, they do. And I think obviously Falcons too, you cannot talk about Hunter without talking about Gustav, right? Years of experience with FaZe, another one of the best IGLs in the world. I think it's probably the biggest inter-regional transfer that we have had in the Western world of PUBG anyway, as far as I can remember. I think Gustav, the difference between him and Hunter, yeah, it's going to be the aggression, right? We're not counting Aussies, because to me they've always been part of the Americas, right?
Yeah.
But I think that he is going to bring a different level of aggression to Falcons, right? And I think that we'll see them pick up tons more points in, like, regionals. Well, let's hear what he has to say himself.
It's a big life change, but I wasn't the one who made the decision, so I think it's going to be up to them to see how this decision is long term. I was actually really lucky or fortunate to be able to play with Copenhagen Wolves. I mean, I've known these guys for a really long time. They're all great, experienced players. I obviously wasn't expecting to get dropped 2 days before roster lock, so honestly, I'm just grateful to have the chance to play. I mean, I think this is a classic underdog story. There's a lot of strong teams coming out of SA in particular, and getting top 2 won't be easy. It would be awesome to just qualify somehow with so little practice time. The biggest challenge with the new team is always going to be the little things. You can have the best players in the world, and it's still hard to do the little things right, like sticking together or just getting on the same page. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I think everyone's going to be looking for that, and hopefully the fight's not too one-sided with TPP advantage, but yeah, it should be fun. I'm sure they're going to hate dying to me. So yeah, we'll be looking to flush Tig or Kickstone.
Woo! Spicy. No love lost in that one, because he's heard him specifically say, as he did on his online post as well, this was a bit of a shock to him, and it wasn't necessarily part of the decision-making process. And coming out with the, they're going to die to my hand style situation there, Gibson. This is a little bit of drama in Americas. We haven't had this in a while.
Yeah, but in typical, like, H1 fashion, it's the most polite trash talk you've ever seen in your life, right? It's like, yeah, it'd be nice to kill them all the time. Deep down, he is way more of a competitor than the words he just let out, and I think it's going to be exciting for sure. And again, like, as he said, 2 days before roster lock, like, it completely changes the way that this team plays as well. And I'm excited because, again, I'm a fan of Snakers. I'm a big fan of the team they have. I think that this could be maybe a changing in the guard, right? Because Liquid, you'd look at Rock and kind of maybe teams like even Antichrist kind of come up as the next team. I think Copenhagen Wolves could easily put themselves into that top 3 battle for the Americas.
Well, when we're looking at the map right now, it's New Gen All-Stars that are pretty centered off of it at Crossroads, just north of Shelter. Then we've got Fury that's kind of a spattering along the hillside and the roads coming out of it. Up to the north is going to be Copenhagen Wolves, already in a great spot. Bestia down to the southeast of it, and Athletes of Christ down to the southwest of the positioning. Falcons just now entering, so it's going to be intriguing to see how Falcons can also play differently, because I know that one of the things that might have put H1 in the crosshairs was a lot of the fandom was wanting them to play more aggressive. But whenever we look at this, the teams that Gustav has played on are more positionally based, not necessarily aggressively based play.
And I think we'll keep an eye on it, right? Because one of the things that we have always given Falcons credit for has been the way that they position themselves in the early game, right? They drop inside of Pachinki, they rotate early, they've made their way in on the western side of this circle as things stand, just kind of north of that potato hill as they make it in. But the circle that we have now, Matt, a lot of teams are going to be coming from the west, right? You look at Team Liquid, they're going to have to move in. What Attacks are still inside of Primo. Like, this circle has shifted a long ways away from them.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and this is no disrespect to H1, he's a very attractive man. Bringing in Gustav, Falcons feel like they're trying to make a boy band right now. Like, the in general vibe of the players that they're picking up. This is going to be intriguing to see how the synergy develops on that squad throughout the year.
Well, you talk about the boy band, look, but whenever we were at PNC, it was Beamy. That was the guy from Europe who was getting all the love from the locals. He was the one that had girls with signs with his name on it, so I don't know. They seem to like Beamy out there. But I think it's time to kind of look at other teams, right? Kawazine not really spent a lot of time on that Fury roster, did he? And he finds himself on Rock now with a couple of moves they made. What are your kind of expectations for Rock?
Murder the world. This squad, I don't even know if they need inherent strategy in these lobbies other than walk direction, kill everything that moves. Santaxico, Kawazine, and Sparking are some of the biggest fraggers we've seen. And that's nothing to take anything away from RBN. RBN is a phenomenal player. But each one of those other three have had different moments whenever people were like, is this the best player in the Americas right now in the discussion? This is a squad that is scary, scary good.
And like, it's a complete change. Like, when you think about Rock last year, particularly their first international event, they were really passive. You know, they kind of tried to play the lobby and see what happened, and fights were coming at them when they weren't ready. But this is a complete 180 in style of play for them, and I think it's a really good pickup. Sparking improves every team. But all in all, remember, 5 maps today. Top 8 teams are going to go through. Like, a good game 1 can kickstart. Let's be real, a good game 1, Matt, probably qualifies a team through to the finals.
Maybe. It's
if you win, if you get
8,
20 plus points.
With top 8, maybe. But you just have to make sure that you do something else after that. And that's been the problem that we've been seeing for some of these squads is consistency, right? Is like, there's a lot of very strong performances, but whenever we were looking at the Cup Series coming into this, Athletes of Christ were the consistent squad. Whenever we look on the international stage, Falcons and Team Liquid both were finding a lot of trouble with consistency. So this lobby is a very weird melting pot right now of squads that want to prove something. And that means that they might overextend a bit, or they might play it a bit too safe and put themselves in very vulnerable positions because everybody is kind of searching for what's the new rhythm, what's happening in Americas right now, how is this all going to play out?
And let's not be real, or let's not like make any jokes about it. Whenever you're playing at those international lobbies, it's a lot easier, and this is no offense to the teams that joined tonight, but it is a lot easier for the IGLs to understand where teams are going to be, the timings of rotates, where you can expect to be free whenever you're playing internationally. Whenever you get lobbies like this and you're playing with teams like X10, Pest Control, Last Breath, it's just a little bit harder to read that, and we've seen it in the past, haven't we, Matt, where some of the top teams can struggle on the opening day of groups or playoffs because of how, you know, the lobby's built out.
Here's a squad I want to see more consistency from. Duel. This is a very strong team of players that we've known for a long time, adding in a kind of a new face, right? And whenever we look at Kind and how he's going to be playing. But this is a squad that also was kind of having some moments where they couldn't quite figure out where they wanted to set up fortifications, how they wanted to really assault circles. Curious to see what they kind of learned out of that. And here's one of, I know, the squads that you've got your eye on in New Gen All-Stars.
Yeah, you know, 4 up-and-coming young gunners, I guess, in New Gen All-Stars in Finna, Shinboy, Bale, and Iga. I was really impressed by Iga and Finna, right? Over the course of the Cups. They were really good. Like, they're in this lobby for a reason. I think this is a roster that I think maybe didn't expect to come into the, 6 months ago, didn't expect to be coming into this year and putting in a lot of good work, but I think they've got a lot of potential. Like, experience, you check. Have they got go fragging potential? Check. They've got all the things they need to make it work, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of these squads that where I'm kind of putting my mental notes at is, do I think that they're a day 1 or a day 2 squad as Circle 2 pops here? Which category do I think that they're going to qualify in? There's a lot to be said for performances on day 1 that what you were kind of talking about, right? 8 spots. It feels like it's the easier day, but this is actually the hardest lobby, and the lobby is going to get weaker while there's going to be less spots available. So it's going to be intriguing to see who tries to set the paces. My lord, what is happening down to the south right now? 3 squads all rotating right next to each other. Furia over here next to Toyo as well.
Yeah, not the first time that these 2 orgs have gone head-to-head inside the Americas, and I see Sparking's putting in work as well elsewhere, but as it stands, BL from Furia is just holding down the Liquid compound, jumping back over. Sparking will confirm out another LFP, stealing one of those kills away, but 2 kills on the board early for Rock and for X10. Losing those players early is not going to be what they would have wanted going into this day, but for Rock, you spoke about aggression, running headfirst in the fights. Check and check.
Right next to Athletes of Christ, so this is going to be a pressure moment for Athletes of Christ. Even going to be very close to them. Spots out what's going on with RBN just a little bit down below him. Vision on the Wizards. Maybe he can get a free knock. Doesn't quite get it, but at least it does buy time for Fana to get rezzed. X10 is going to make landfall just down into prison, right next to everything that's going to be going on. The way that we can see kind of the setup coming up from Athletes of Christ is they're a bit separated across this. So it's going to be Haven Point Man. The rest of the guys are going to be regrouping right now, and it looks like they've realized isolating RBN. Time to get some vengeance.
This is so smart. They're going to push in and get that knock and flush onto RBN, but while you had Haven scouting out this compound, the rest of the team were fighting with Rock, so he knew they were isolated, so instead of fighting a 3v3 and a 1v1, they just made it a 4v1, takes out one of the Rock players. The rest of Rock now are going to backtrack and move elsewhere, but look at that. It's really good for them. Team Liquid as well, top of the leaderboard with 3 points on their tally as well at this early point of the game, but I like that. Athletes of Christ not backing down from one of the biggest teams in the region.
Well, this is a squad that I would say feels like they're due to be in that top 8, and they're due to make some international appearances this year. We saw the way that they were playing. It's a very, very strong squad. The rest of it kind of comes into play as what are we looking at whenever we see who they're going to be lining up against. Specifically, the squads that they have most comfort in are going to be squads like going against Rock. These are the guys that they compete against the most, so they know how they move, they know how they think, and they are going to try to exploit.
Yeah, and Kraken now is just going to pop that shield and pop the tires on the Dacia to make it a little bit harder for those teams to rotate out a little bit later inside the game. But while that was going on, the circle did shift a little further north here, just north of prison, holding on to most of Yaz as well. And you look at it, Mansion, you've got a 2-2 split right now from No Way. They're going to spot Tiggleton. He's going to spray down Wooly, and oh my, Wooly, that ain't the first time you've been knocked by Tiggleton, that's for sure. Sharp's going to fall at the hands of Kickstart, as well as the Falcons going to get their first few kills on the board here as well, and they're looking sharp, nice and early.
This is a fight to get into circle coming up from Falcons. Well, I think that they were keeping an eye on the res beacon. It's pretty close to here. Very nice set of plays. Going to go ahead and pick them up a couple of kills early. Also gives them edge control over here. They're going to have a little bit of placement away from Rock. Fury going to be on the other side. Team Liquid, another section of the circle very far to the north. They've actually got Luke that's holding down a foothold in Yasnaya in case this goes north, but expectations for these circles tend to pull more down into that prison area. Maybe, though, they could get lucky and get some circle.
Yeah, and look at that. Kurt with 3 kills and 300 damage as well. You know, we spoke about Sparking's replacement Cowboy, but Kurt doing it for the oldies, getting things up and running as that circle shift works out really nice. I'm going to say, look at this. We've got a big crash now. Rock pushing into Hall of Fame where you've got a 2-2 split for the New Gen All-Stars, and Finna and it's going to have to do a lot of work here. They've got the Panzer, they've got the nades, but this is a big crash from Rock.
Well, they can't stay out here too long because they're going to get picked apart from different angles. Good shots coming out from Shinboy. Gets the knock on to Sparking. That's going to make a little bit of this rotation for regrouping much easier. New Gen All-Stars knows the fact that they need to go over here. This outer wall is doing a great job of providing enough cover for New Gen All-Stars to exploit. And here's the flank around from the side. New Gen All-Stars is going to be jumping out right back behind Rock. Do they read it? Nades come out, and Fantastico gets the knock on the 1.
He gets a second. Shinboy's going to fall here too, and Fantastico just living up to the hype. This is a player who burst onto the scene last year internationally. Kawazine and Fantastico now in a 2 versus 2 against the New Gen All-Stars. Kawazine will confirm out Bale now, leaving it all down to poor Finna. He's trapped inside, and I'm surprised, Matt, that not a single team has thought about third-partying onto this one just yet. Like, look at the Falcons. They're in prime position.
I love the fact that Athletes of Christ instead saw the regroup coming out from New Gen All-Stars, didn't choose to get involved, and went for positioning. On this circle, there is not a lot to play. This is a pretty barren circle. We've got Heaven, that's going to be where Copenhagen Wolves are going to be at, leading down into Shelter. Mansion's going to be in play, but it's mostly some hillsides and a little bit more cover into the west, and that's why everybody's scrapping over here. Oh, Liquid in some trouble as now Luke is down.
Vixen's going to get that nade ready as Alo's going to try to back up Luke, who is now down as they push into those Yaz yellows. You can see Alo takes a ton of damage. The Panzer falls out. That's going to take down Emmy. Soul's going down at the hands of Kurt here as well. Liquid's holding their own, Matt.
Riding the ship, the crash wasn't as successful as they wanted off to start. A couple peaks. Vixen had a nade in his hand and almost ended up eating some bullets due to it. Blue zone's going to be coming out. Now Toyo on the back foot, in retreat, just trying to get one of their players back alive. Team Liquid, are you going to relent, or are you going to continue the hunt is the question. On the external of this, even Copenhagen Wolves finding a couple of shots, picking up one for themselves.
Yeah, that angle from Heaven's just nice on into this fight. Kurt will confirm that kill onto Emmy now as he gets, I think, 3-4 kills on the board as they move to 5, and this ain't looking good for Toyo. And it's not often you see this compound, Matt, being a position that you can keep your vehicles up. But because of the circle, this is such a good compound to hold, at least for now. And they know exactly where Vixen is. They send in the Panzer. Fake gets one, but it's easy for Kurt. He is on one. 5 kills now, Matt.
Highest damage, highest kills, highest number of assists. My man's got goals, and it is all violence right now. Circle pops, and it moves down into the south. Heaven's going to get knocked out, so that means the Copenhagen Wolves got to make a move. No way over to east at Mansion. They've got to do something. Prison's going to get a little bit dicey. His bestie is going to still have to worry about X10 with one of their players back behind him. Wit's going to have to come in from the south. Duel looks like they're going for res back behind Falcons. Falcons at least have a foothold inside the circle, but this is going to be intriguing as this is kind of a high ground to low ground situation that we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, and you think about with Duel, when they bring those players back in, when Wooly comes, he's got to hope that there's enough loot inside the compound that Kane is holding. But back by Hall of Fame, Kawazine and Santastico still playing this outer wall with Finna inside. And Finna ain't going to be the one to aggress. He's not going to be the one to peek. And I feel like with Rock, just because of how exposed they would be if they make that push in, I think they're happy enough to play the wall for now, Matt.
This is one of those things that every decision feels bad if you're Rock and you try to move. Finna does something more. You have to hope to come in the right angle. Athletes of Christ, though, are in a great spot. Legion All-Stars, the spot that they usurped from them, gives them so much control. In this Alamo position, look, it's a slight, small, contained area with a ton of walls around the outside and open fields. This is a PowerPoint position. They can continue to harass every squad and maybe force some more. They just cannot allow a crash to come after them. But even if a crash does fall onto Athletes of Christ, there is going to be a third and fourth party at range.
Yeah, and what I love about it is this team last year when they were Mira were all gas, no brakes. They went from fight to fight to fight, but they've evolved, right? They're more focused on the macro side of things. Yes, they will still bring the fight to teams, but they know if they want to, really dance with the big boys, they've got to be live with as many players up as we get into, Phase 5, Phase 6, Phase 7, and I think they're in a really good position to do so. But looking at the circle, Matt, Liquid, they've got a bit of a foothold with Kurt, but they've got to get on the move. Furia not too far away. No Way have found themselves inside a dip as well. Real estate is getting really expensive inside this circle now with a lot of teams still to rotate in.
There's just such open sight lines on this. This circle feels so open, and you can kind of get a grip on what's going on, whether we're looking at Furia trying to regroup. Once you get up on top of this hill, it kind of recesses down into the road and then recesses down yet again. It's going to be DraftKings spotting out Purdy Curdy. It's going to get flushed out, but H-Win's going to be the one that makes sure it gets done.
Yeah, living up to the billing, I suppose, for the team. Picking up a kill. 2 now for the Wolves as X10 will be the first team to fall. Bestia catching them out as France try to rotate in. Haven, he's still holding inside the kind of Alamo compound here as Benya from Bestia gets up close and personal with 55. Big nades being dropped inside the dip, but nothing of note landing just yet. Another nade tossed in. Another knock finally found as Benya gets one, but 55 in a world of hurt right now.
Follow-up nade connects just down to 1, but Bestia really can't crest this hill too much more as the circle has popped. Moves back into the direction of where Athletes of Christ are going to be. A couple of shots going to go. Glock gets a knock on to Benya, at least some retaliation. He's down to about half life, but he's going to get spotted. Nade's going to land at his face. That's going to open up at least some type of pathing for Bestia, but it's going to be with the crossfire coming up from Copenhagen Wolves all the way to the north of the circle, while Athletes of Christ are just going to be on a pivot. Full-on turret time coming up from them.
Yeah, the Wolves have found a really good spot up here on the north as they come down from heaven, and they've got that sight line onto Bestia, who need to work their way in. Flood gets that knock, and as you can see, they're going to have to regroup. This is going to take up even more time, and if I'm Bestia, I'm looking at it. You either crash Hall of Fame or you make the play onto the Alamo. I don't really see many other options for them, and for Wolves, they just have to control the north, and for them, the biggest issue is going to be what Furia decide to do, because yes, it might look like a hill, but once they step on top, they've got that valley, and they suddenly expose themselves to a lot of teams in this lobby.
So you're saying that the Dire Wolves have control of the north until they have to come down from their giant wall. I agree with everything that's going to happen is Wolves, this is a good spot for now, but you are right. It's going to get dicey. The only benefit to it is the west, and specifically the south, is where most of our clusters are occurring. Bestia is going to make the shift more into the west, hoping that that's going to be more vulnerable, but unfortunately not too much. We're going to get some shots into it. Remember, we do have the remnants of Rock as well as Legion All-Stars over here. Duel's got to come in. They're just down to 2 players. On the outside of the last Brett's also going to have to get in the circle. Luckily, Falcons caught up taking shots right now at Furia. They want to get control over this angle, so at least opens up something down to the south because Falcons had surveillance on it.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing. They're holding down this western side of the circle. The C4 in the hands of Vinny. He's just trying to take a couple of What It Takes players with him. The explosion goes off, but I think that What It Takes have just about survived, and they might be able to regroup, but watch for Duel now. The potentially third party. Big nades being thrown here by Tig.
Both sides of it. Copenhagen Wolves cresting onto one side of Furia. Falcons coming after the other one. Just a couple of hills providing enough, but nades raining down on top of Furia. Not too much that they can do. Cowboy does get the shot onto Snakers at range. This is going to be a lot of different mix-ups. The squad's just going to have to start bumping into each other. No options, no nothing that they can deal with. Wolf finds one onto BL, gets a knock onto him. Gate gets a knock on Draft King. That's going to be Furia just picked apart between two.
And are we going to see that Wolves fight against Falcons now on this northwestern side? Flood will attempt to get Snakers back up on his feet as the blue zone comes in, and we will lose Rock now as well. Jumping back in, it looks like Duel pushed in, manages to clear, and Finna managing to salvage a couple of points, at least 1 point for the New Gen All-Stars here inside the zone. But Hall of Fame looking damn nice to Duel, and Falcons, they've got their attention drawn back towards the south as Last Breath move this way.
You know, Last Breath managed to get a fortified position. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Lots of smokes are going to have to be burned from Falcons right now. It's going to be running, comes styling. Shrimsy, though. Spots out Blazer to knock. Kick just takes a couple of wild shots to see if he can connect, but he's close enough. The Molotov might be able to land on top of Last Breath to make it a bit more spicy as the circle did go down towards Hall of Fame. That's going to mean it's foot pushes and firefights, and Wolf looks like they've realized they have the back door onto Falcons. A little bit of high ground. Do they want to go after it is the bigger question. Falcons starting to read both sides of this hill, getting dicey. It's time to hop in the car. Not too many more they can do. They just got to send it.
Yeah, they got to pick one of these fights, and that's exactly what they've done. Andrew will catch Tiggleton out now as Gustav Schirmsy and Kick will get involved. Gustav steps up, managed to get one. Oh my God, Kickstart has just deleted Arv from the server. Now Kick is down. He's probably not too far away from the edge of the zone, and that's what it is. And Copenhagen Wolves, they are pushing in. They can taste the blood in the water.
This is its own independent firefight for right now. This hillside is blocking out everything, but it's not inside the new circle. Falcons got enough time to at least get the reset back. Med's not in a good position, and that's exactly what Copenhagen Wolves want. They want to continue raining and chasing it. That's going to be Gustav down. H-Twin himself doing the finishing touches to make sure that he's out of this lobby. Wolf, high ground control, but they've got to be careful. No Way is on the other side of them, waiting to pounce. Falcons have at least found a way down the hillside for now. Could buy them some safety. As remember, down into where we look at, inside of the trophy house, it's just going to be a couple of remnants, solos hiding out over there as Falcons has more room to roam.
Yeah, now Falcons in trouble as Hunter and the rest of the Wolves start pushing around. It's a 2 versus 4. Shrimsy finds one, but Flood will get one back the other way. And well, Hunter takes down Shrimsy. And yes, he'll say, you took my job, but he'll take your life. And Wolves move up to 7 kills as Falcons, at least on map 1 of PAS, are led to rue their decision here, Matt. And there's 5 teams left alive.
Now the problem is the Wolves committed heavily into that. They've got to get in the circle. No Way, though, is just getting demolished from everybody at range. Athletes of Christ. Remember that strong Alamo position? It's just stayed in the circle. And they just get a line up onto everything. Look at the vision this squad has. Everything has come up. Copenhagen Wolves finding the high ground, doing harassment on the other side. That's going to be all she wrote for No Way. But where, oh, where do the Wolves go next? 9 kills and counting.
It's a 5-kill, 5-star performance here for H1 already as the Wolves just keep on roaring their way through the lobby, and now they're going to go howling forward, but with a tire pop, it's going to be a bit of trouble. Snakers down and out. Wolves will go to 2, but they're still in a pretty good position. H1 down to 24. So I correct myself there. They've still got 3 up, but Athletes of Christ now, Matt, they find themselves outside the circle. And looking inside Hall of Fame, still Finna picking up points here for the New Gen All-Stars.
I mean, Trophy still has some positions in it. It's got the outer wall, but we're looking at a very open circle, all considered. It looks like Athletes of Christ have realized that. They're going to try to use some vehicles, maybe set up a car fortifications just right on the outskirts of it. Or they're just going to send it in the face. They want to take out the Wolves. They want to usurp position. And they know that it's a weakened squads that are going to be coming out of Hall of Fame. So, now, slowing back down the pacing. They've got to be careful about the smokes. They're just trying to smoke off the Wolves so that way they can get closer and closer to stranglehold. The great aggressive play coming out from Athletes of Christ.
Yeah, they're on 9 kills here as well as Haven gets really close and personal. Vox will fall. That's the 10th kill on the board now, and it's down to Hitchwin and Flood. Make it just Flood. He's stuck behind a shield, but great decision from the Athletes of Christ. They took the fight to the north. They knew that the Wolves were weak, and Molly's going to get tossed on over towards where Flood is standing. He's going to light up into flames, and Haven is going to send him to hell. 12 kills for them, and it's a 4v1v1. And look, we said it I said it earlier, one good game. There's potentially 2 more kills. They could be on a huge game here, Matt.
This is going to be intriguing to see how this plays out, because it looks like Finna's got a goal, and that goal is taking care of Pinta. Pinta, though, we know is a player that usually tries to go for like some type of play at the end of it, but he's already been spotted. It looks like Tony's got vision, so Pinta's just going to have to be jumping across the outside of this one. Athletes of Christ, they've got the circle on lock. They've got external control over this wall now. It's just going to be the solos against essentially a wall of bullets coming for him, and so much information has already been fed over. You can see LFP waiting, Pinta at least setting up the defensive wall. It's all eyes between these solos to see if they can pick each other off, and really all the pressure right now is on to Pinta. On the external of this, could be Finna right on the side of it. A couple of shots. Pinta does get the knock on to Tony. Pinta not going down quietly. He does get the flush to follow up as well. That draws a lot of attention from the Athletes of Christ. Here comes the push.
Yeah, and this is all working in the Finna's favor as he now gets an extra placement point off the back of it. It's going to be 6 placements for the New Gen All-Stars, but the Athletes of Christ, they know exactly where he is. He's inside the shack. The stun's going to get thrown. And, well, it ain't looking good now, but what a start this is for the Athletes of Christ. It's elementary at this point here. LFP, sawn-off shotgun at the ready, and quick double tap. Game over.
Finna tried, though. He at least made back into the smoke. Just trying to make it a little bit more dicey, but that is a ton of kills, a ton of damage, and a massive game. 23 points in a 5-game series is absolutely nuts, Toffee.
What? I mean, Athletes of Christ absolutely nailed it. They rolled back the stone and dominated. I got to give them credit for that. You know, it was one of those, it was sneaky. We were talking about all these other things, right? We saw H-Win in his fight against the Falcons, which H-Win looks good. Really good. The Falcons should consider picking this guy up. But he played really, really well. And then we're focused on that. And then all of a sudden, Athletes of Christ in their armor just come walking out and dominating everybody. And Matt, you said at the start of this game, this is not the lobby from the cup. The big lads are here.
Yeah, this is going to be intriguing. I got a question for you guys. Do you think that Copenhagen Wolves, they had an opportunity to maybe go after No Way and get into the circle and play for a potential win? Was the goal to say, screw it, let's get the Falcons instead? Not even caring about the moral victory greater than the points victory? What do you think, Gibson?
I don't know. There's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Being honest, I think they made the right decision. They got, was it 9 kills, 4 placement, like 13 points? Who knows what they would have got if they went for No Way, but I think it's a statement, right? You're putting down your marker. You take out Team Falcons. You're saying we're the big dogs here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes even beyond that. The big dogs, the pack of wolves. That's all a wolf really is. Beyond that, though, let's be honest. Let's go back in history. And I'm going to preface this comment with, these guys are actually friends. We eat dinner. We go to lunch. Like, we had Thanksgiving together 2 years ago. But to believe that the Copenhagen Wolves and the Falcons don't dislike each other on a professional competitive level, I think is crazy. Just in the context of, remember who Kickstart used to play with, right? Snakers, Trevor, he gets jacked by the Falcons, goes over there. Then they kick H-Win, who's now on this roster. Like, there's definitely some blood history there that I think makes these fights even sweeter.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's not like, I don't want to say animosity, but there is a desire to prove to be better between both of these squads, I think. And it's not just a on the leaderboard situation. It's like, no, I want to be the guy that kills you. And I don't care if it screws me over a little bit, as long as it screws you over just a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't dislike the European talent. I just want the world to know we're better. Right? They're my friends, but we're better here at the PAS. Gibson agrees, and he's from their part of the world. So obviously we're in the right here. Look at that stoic face. He's like, I'm not pissing off James and Martin. I'm not pissing off James and Martin. No matter how big Martin's headphones were during his broadcast. Go ahead, Gibson. Piss him off.
Give me a chance. Give me a chance. Look, I came here because it's the better region. You know, simple as that.
Woo! I love it. He's firmly planted the flag, and he's like, nah, I'm on this side now.
Nice.
The
All right,
players
let's
will
talk
never let you
about
live that one down.
game moments. So we go to Wrangle, Little Milta, good game. Let's talk about Rock's push on the New Gen All-Stars. New Gen All-Stars gives up Alamo Gibson, and they collapse to fight this out at Hall of Fame, and nobody else shows up. That, to me, was like, boom, coming off of PGS, where it was like third-party bonanza all the time. It was a three-wing circus. Here we are with just 2 teams the whole time. I don't understand it. Explain that to me.
Look, I think they made the right decision to collapse and take that full fight. The problem was you're going up against Santastico. And how many highlight reel plays were there from Santastico last year where, yes, he had backup, but that was a 1v2 that he won, and that blew that whole fight out. Now, let's be real, New Gen All-Stars had the last laugh. They're the team that came in second. They got the more placement points. But I will say, they made the right decision. They just got caught out by a really good play from a top player.
And it was also fun to see Rock go, oh, we're back and we want to fight. So I'm gassed up about that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's game 2 of only 5. So don't go anywhere. Shazam! Welcome back, my friends. It is time for game number 2 to get underway. My name is Toffees. I am joined by Gibson and Matchroom as we get the action back up and running. We came back to some laughter as we discussed our friends across the pond at their start today. VP looking very, very good. But right off the gate here, a favorite from the Cups looks great, and that is the Athletes of Christ. Matchup, I believe that you have had the chance to cover these guys a little bit throughout the years. They've sort of been playing under this lineup. Now, it's different, you know, we know most of the guys on the roster. Have they looked this good since the beginning, or has this been sort of an upward trajectory from them?
Yes, they've just been that good. There's no other way to say it.
For real? Okay, cool.
It's been very dominant whenever we were looking through the Cup Series. I mean, like, I got in and out a little bit, but Gibson, I mean, do you agree? Like, there's not much else you can say. Is it's just been very dominant in performance.
Yeah, they were dominant all 3 Cups last year. They're dominant the Cups this year, and they've taken that next step. They've shown it in a stronger lobby. So, am I impressed? Yes. Am I surprised? No.
I like that.
Game 1 does surprise me a bit. I will say that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's fair. I will also say, I think for me, when we talked about the rosters, you go over this, and for a lot of our people at home, I think you're seeing like a lot of names on the like the name of the team that doesn't sort of stand out to you, or people that you don't really know in terms of, I don't recognize your brand. That said, the players on the teams are outrageously well known. One of those, New Gen All-Stars, we saw him in the last game. Let's dig into these guys a little bit, Gibson. Shinboy, Balefrost, and Finna. Now, Finna has been a workman for a long time, but Balefrost and Shinboy have always been on this sort of cusp of they could be the next great young gun, but don't seem to have quite pulled the trigger yet. Is this the team? Is this the roster, perhaps?
You know what? I think it all depends on if Bale can stay consistent. You hit the nail on the head. Like, it feels like we've been waiting for years to Bale to be consistent. Like, his peak is so high. And every single time you think that this is Bale's moment, something happens. It goes the wrong way. I think this roster is built in a much better way to keep him grounded. And I think the fact that he can be the point guy for this team and the other 3 can build their game around them might just help Bale to be the best version of himself.
I got to ask one more question, Matt, and this is about the Rock lads, all right? Out of South America, this roster looks incredible. Sparking on it now. Do you think that that is what they need to sort of take them from a second tier? I don't want to say second tier because they're always at the top, but you know what I mean. Like, they never finish in the top 4 as often as they'd like. Is this the spark that takes them, or sparking a little bit weak last year, Liquid, do you think it continues this year?
I don't know, because I have no, I talk to Sparking a lot, right? Like, one of these things that we talk a lot after every single game, and I could never figure out what was going on with, like, the performance for him, and him specifically, because we know that he's a phenomenal talent, and whenever we look at him playing in Latin American squads, or South American squads, depending on how you want to say it, he was always really good, but he always was, like, trying to find the next thing, and was kind of listening to what's going on here.
É muito bom para você manter uma consciência da qualidade do time, ainda mais com a chegada de jogador novo como o Tony. Ele já chega já com a gente estruturado, só tendo que encaixar no nosso jogo. Isso facilita muito realmente a desenvolver aí durante as partidas. A gente pensa que é jogo após jogo. Você carregar um peso de um jogo para o outro, se não for um erro que vai realmente fazer você não errar na próxima, como às vezes você vacilou de morrer de uma forma que não era para morrer, esses erros tem que carregar para a próxima partida para você não cometer novamente. Agora tem erros que são estratégicos. Esses erros não adianta nem quebrar a cabeça para carregar para a próxima, porque você não vai mudar ali na hora, vai ter que gerar toda uma discussão. Então só reseta a cabeça, foca no próximo jogo, vai entrar com o coração frio e a mira quente. Eu vejo mais margem de melhor nessa equipe atualmente, na parte estratégica. Como eu recentemente mudei minha função para IGL da equipe, a gente está trabalhando muito pesado nessa área de melhorar o tático. Então tem muita coisa que eu tenho que aprender, tem muita coisa que os meninos têm que aprender, mas a gente está na pegada e é isso que está sendo o nosso foco ultimamente.
I love that. Going with cold minds and hot guns. That is a great way to finish that interview, and a great thought for me to leave you gentlemen with as I turn it over to our casters. Matchroom, Gibson, you got this.
Yeah,
Thank you,
love the
Toffees.
perspective on that one. Cold, what is it? Cold mind and hot aim. That's never heard it described that way.
Yeah, and you know what? I might not speak Portuguese, but I can read the English subtitles, and I liked what he said. But you know what impressed me more, Matt? The body language. Like, he meant every word that he said. He looked cool, he looked confident, he believed what he can do. Like, I'm impressed, because you hear players say that all the time, you know, oh, I'm going into this, and yeah, we're going to win everything, and we're going to qualify, and, you know, you can tell sometimes in the eyes that they don't necessarily believe what they're saying. He 100% believes this Athletes of Christ roster have got what it takes.
I mean, they perform incredibly well. Eyes over to the circle. Already pretty centered up as it's around San Martin. Drop spot already put them in a great position as they're kind of spattered along the hills just to the south of it and to the west. Copenhagen Wolves on an approach over there pretty close to them. Bestie is going to be on the other side of them. Up to the north is going to be Furia. So a lot of South America in good position early on this one, as rotates are going to be pretty common. We're not going to quite be touching Oasis, but that's going to be our most northern port. And we're going to be just down on the outskirts, almost touching Los Leones on our southern section of the circle.
Yeah, it's the circle we see quite a bit, and you can see that, like, a lot of teams are just jostling for position without necessarily getting in gunfights. Athletes of Christ were trying to hold this extension to the compound on the north side of San Martin, but with the Copenhagen Wolves pushing in, they've decided, look, we'll give it up. We'll go play somewhere else. That gives Copenhagen Wolves a very similar position, Matt, to what they had on the last map inside of Heaven. Great sight lines for a long way, playing not quite center of the circle, but not too far away. It's a really similar to where they found themselves in the early stages of the last map.
Yeah, a slight difference is being the fact that they had the Alamo, the position you can hold down by yourself, whereas now it's going to be a lot of squads that can kind of piecemeal around. Curious if they lean more into the San Martin side of it, or more the hillside control that they get out of what's going on to the south. A couple of squads kind of jockeying up against each other, but there's enough space, enough position for most of these teams to kind of play along. There's also a sandstorm coming in from the south, where Falcons are going to be right on the edge of it, next to Pest Patrol as well as Toyo, but I don't expect a committed fight coming out of anything.
Yeah, and Pest Control didn't really show up in the last map like we expected them to. Like, it's a team we've not shown any love to whatsoever so far tonight. You know, Hot and Spicy, Conf, K-Mind. I think you and I seen Conf really pop off on one of the nights we casted together. But what about the resurgence of K-Mind? Like, he came back last year and looked really rusty, but he went to PNC. I think obviously he coached, but he was talking about how being back in that LAN environment got the competitive juices flowing again. K-Mind looks like he's getting back to being his old self, right?
Oh, I wouldn't say old self yet, but he's definitely on the come up.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see how he's going to firmly develop in this one. This is going to be kind of the test for him, because, I mean, K-Mind is a historic name whenever we look at performance, specifically back in the NPL days and like the times leading into that. A lot of big moments that he managed to generate and a lot of meta defining that he did. So now he's kind of coming in as I guess, in a resurgence, yes, but he's also having to pick up a lot of what's been going on, the way teams are moving in. It's a lot harder to, like, come back in after, instead of just constantly staying into the process. Like whenever we're looking at Balefrost, Finna, those types of guys, right? You're constantly on top of the meta, you know the movements, you know the rotations. Now you've been casually watching, but you're having to come back in and learn how everything is boots on the ground. It's so much harder.
Yeah, but the Cupsies looked good. They looked really, really good. We got a glimpse of Toyo as they rotated in, another one of our regional partner teams. Yeah, that Broncos no more, but you know, a team that didn't play internationally, didn't play in any of the cups either, Matt, but I think this is a big year for Toyo, right? You look at the likes of Capitan, these are players that played internationally at times last year, but they've added in Fixin, you know, they've changed the roster up a little bit. Do you think they'll have any ring rust going into this, having not played in cups and having not been involved in the most recent PGSs?
Yeah, I don't think that there's a way to say anything other than that.
Yeah.
Is in not playing through the Cup Series and then not having the PGSs means the fact that you're mostly just relying on your matchmaking, which can be very good, but it's a different meta, different styling. You just have to stay on top of a lot of VOD review, which makes it a bit more complicated coming into this. But there is also something to be said. Fresh eyes, fresh face, fresh mindset, right? Is sometimes if you know how everything works and then you just take some time off and you kind of redefine yourself, you can kind of come back into this and, I don't know, fresh eyes can give you a lot sometimes instead of just constantly being in the thick of it and going, okay, this isn't working, that isn't working.
Yeah, Luke 12 here, spots out Furious. Kraken's going to push in, and he's on a solo roam now. does he realize that Luke 12 is here? Luke will get the benefit of the jump scare, peeks across, Kraken drives right into the wall, but now Luke 12's going to go for the reload. Both players low on health, and Luke 12 will find himself on the outside looking and coming under pressure from the rest of the Furia. But the question is, did he miss his opportunity? Is Kraken now back up to 75 HP? Going to get the jump onto Luke?
Luke's just trying to stall this one out, but I don't think that it's going to really be too much. The rest of Team Liquid are so much further away than Furia is. He's entirely isolated. He's trying to get into a position more into the north. That's where the regroup will be coming from his teammates. You can see him in the distance. He is buying enough time, but it's getting closer and closer by the second, using the door, slowing back down the pacing. And that's all he can do. Just keep on trying to throw it off. Every window, though, is an enemy, and he knows it. Gotta be careful. He's already started to get spotted out. Nades coming in. Blue zone on top of him. Reinforcements now making landfall. BL does get the knock onto Luke. Does Team Liquid commit, or do they pull away? Instantaneously heads back to the north.
Yeah, they're gone. They're out of there. They're saying goodbye, Luke. It was a pleasure, but for now, Furia will hold this spot. And with the circle being what it is, I don't see any real chance of them getting him back, because if I'm Furia, am I in a rush to leave here? Probably not. So they will be a 3 for the remainder of this game. But actually, are they going to fully move the water treatment using the sandstorm, or is this a bait and switch?
I don't know. Circle the way it's popped, it looks like it's going to be a lot of San Martin, so that means that Athletes of Christ are going to have a lot of friends suddenly showing up on their doorstep. I think eyes with the way we see Tony moving might be more into the hillside. Copenhagen Wolves, they're going to still be playing those hillsides over into the west, to the north, like you're talking about with Team Liquid and Furia all stepping in next to each other. Water treatment going to be so close to the circle, it's not going to feel too good. But down to the south, lots of rotates are also going to be going on. As here as San Martin itself, it's going to be a 55 jumping in, making landfall. As Athletes of Christ are kind of isolated from each other now.
Yeah, and they've kind of been pushed from pillar to post. They got moved out of a spot by Copenhagen Wolves. Now they're getting moved by the New Gen All-Stars and a couple of more teams pushing in. Snakers will find a knock. 202 damage here for him, but no real opportunity to get the flush onto Rock, who will get themselves back up and on their feet. But keep an eye on RBN. They've sent 3 players in the San Martin. RBN's just a little further west of this position. He's just going to keep an eye on everything else. His job is to be the conduit of information for his team. He'll feed all the movements everywhere teams go. With Snakers almost lands a nice shot there onto the Athletes of Christ inside San Martin.
But they did manage to regroup. It looks like most of them have managed to find paths to get around what's going to be going on. Kind of jumped by positions around Rock, as well as Duel that's going to be back over to the east. Falcons are going to settle in just around the graveyard area, so not going to be too involved in most of these firefights. Wolf, though, this position they have, high ground, so much control. You saw the fact that they were getting some shots onto a rock just a moment ago, but the rock that they're on, specifically the one that Snakers is on, is going to give them a massive amount of control and vision to the north and to the east, which is going to be able to corral so much of the firefighting that's going to go on at San Martin.
The only team that I can really see that aren't in the circle as things stand is Pest Control, but they're rotating up towards that northeast, you know, from the southeast towards the northeast. They've got a lot of spots that they can park in on and wait for that next circle shift, but most of the lobby has now positioned itself in or around the outskirts of San Martin. Liquid, they have taken water treatment as their own spot. No way with a 2-2 split, just a little bit south of them in the farm compound. But as we get ready for that next zone shift, this will be telling, because if this leaves San Martin, if this goes north, it could be a bloodbath for these teams trying to get out of the city.
I mean, that's what Fury is playing for. They've got the God compounds around water treatment and the trench road that kind of passes between the two. If we see this go north, that's the key position that a lot of teams are going to be kind of jockeying around or fighting for. The way that the circles are going to be popping, though, it feels like San Martin is going to have some aspect of it. It's just which is going to be the way that it pulls. Is it going to go to the north? Is it going to keep Toyo in a safe position on their high ground? Falcons would appreciate that as well. The way that the circle has set, there hasn't been a cause for too much violence. I mean, we still have power grid, water treatment, graveyard, all in play with San Martin, Hacienda. There's tons of places to play. So really, it's just about vision and how well you can navigate keeping up with all that information as the new circle is just about to reveal itself and figure out how this is all going to go down.
Yeah, and I can see Souls just looking through that gap now for Toyo. As if I remember correctly, they did get a BRDM, which will help them a little bit later on. But the circle shift keeps San Martin, like you said, and I'm looking now. Liquid need to move their way in, but the path is not that dangerous. But they might just run into no way on that northern side. But Copenhagen Wolves, they have full scented here. They've given up the rock position in San Martin as they move in towards the electrical grids.
I mean, you just kind of have to do that off that position. If San Martin stays the focal point, leaving that position and having to push east is just going to be murder. The same thing for the squads that are playing more into the north. We still have that I guess that ridge line that drops down from the God compounds into water treatment that a couple of squads look like they're just trying to play for right now. Maybe a couple of longer wraps could be for that. But most of the sins coming in San Martin. My eyes are drawn to Falcons that are going to be rotating very close to pest control, as well as a couple of different moving factors in X10 close range. That's going to be a lot of cut positionings now to where these squads that are on the external position, i.e. Falcons, are going to have to just deal with what's going on. Meanwhile, the squads that are down to the south have Sandstorm, and they're stacked on top of each other and can't even see each other enough to firefight.
Yeah, the Sandstorm just causing a lot of problems for these teams who want to pick up points as Pest Control run into Slabby here from no way. Nice shots in towards Confin. You know, did I give him the kiss of death earlier when I highlighted him as a player that I was really impressed by? Well, it's yet to be seen, but Falcons are also on the outside of this circle. They've got a path their way in, but for now, they want to see what they can pick up. They know that No Way are here. They know that there's a couple of teams not too far away. I think Gustav didn't quite see, but you could just see the Liquid players off in the distance too.
It's going to be intriguing as there are a couple of foothills just due west that could be played. Falcons should have the information to know that north is going to be pretty complicated. Hacienda is getting harassment angles coming out from New Gen All-Stars who have that under control. So really it's about, do you be a bit more bold and push into the west where you're just going to have to foot push for the rest of it? Do you maybe try to wrap between the squad that you might think is a bit weaker than you? Intriguing to see how they want to play that, as Pest Control has managed to get their meds back up. They're in vehicles, and they're going to be wrapping along right what we're looking at now. There's a couple of shots that are going to be coming out from Duel. It looks like Falcons are just going to cut it straight west. I feel that's the safest bet, but that is going to put them very, very close to Bestia, New Gen All-Stars, and No Way Crossfire. They've got to stay low in these hills.
Yeah, they're going to play inside that Hacienda bowl, which gives them a lot of cover from multiple angles, but as you said, you got to be careful. Pest Control got deleted by X10, and if I'm Duel, you got to lock into this fight now. Sharp shot, though, will be the first fall. Kalnick steps on up, and Santi will get another one as Woolie's going to fall, and this ain't looking good for the Americans. Now, Penta will fire back. One member of X10 falls. He tries to confirm out the kill, but he will get fallen by Kalnick's now as well, leaving it all down to Kane. But is he able to deal with what's left of X10? What a job it's been by X10 so far, and they deal with Duel. 2 squads wiped. They've cleared this section for now, but with the zone shifting away, it is just going to be battle after, you know, battle after battle, or I suppose as the Leonardo DiCaprio film recently, one battle after another for them as they make their way in.
Yeah, this is so weird because now the God compounds that we were talking about are back to being really strong, and Team Liquid's in a great spot. Fury is due up in the center of the circle. X10, after not having the best game one, it's kind of an early out for them, do manage to right the ship, pick up a couple of points on this one, but like you said, this is going to be a hard push. New Gen All-Star is going to be in front of them on one pathing angle. San Martin over into the west. Athletes of Christ going to just try to usurp positions and get closer and closer into Copenhagen Wolves. These guys have been jockeying up against each other for quite a while. Bestia's got that high ground on the Falcons. The Falcons just got to send it. No other options. They just got to go and get right next to No Way because there is no way else to get in the circle.
And they've managed to get a leapfrog over all the teams by Hacienda. Like, they've leapfrogged, you know, the New Gen All-Stars. They leapfrogged against No Way. Like, they've got themselves a great spot. Over on the other side of the circle, Copenhagen Wolves now battling with those New Gen All-Stars in the crash. Hunter will drop that nade as he tries to throw it, and Snakers and Flood, 2 players up now. New Gen All-Stars, Beelfrost. He's in behind the Bronco. He gets the shots off onto Snakers, leaving it all down to Flood now, but no, Frogman is going to third party from Bestia, and that gives Copenhagen Wolves a lifeline.
Gladiator's got himself the tool to drop right on top of that BRDM. I couldn't tell if it hit, but it looked like the angle was pretty good onto it. Wolves now full damage control. It's just a matter of, does Athletes of Christ want to go after this one? I don't think that they want to risk going for position. So Wolves, they should be able to reset here, I believe. Couple of shots, I believe, coming in from the side, and that's going to be Bestia, but not the cleanest of sightlines, to say the least.
Yeah, they were able to help out, but now they're not really able to confirm any of those kills. So think the Wolves should get back up, but elsewhere, no way. Pushing in Cowboy. He has the shotgun ready, and that was just death waiting for him. Alo confirms it out. Lopez will be the next to fall as Cowboy just keeps an eye on his flank. 2 nades in the hands of DNL and Slabby as they're going to toss them up, and the first one misses, and Kurt's nade. Well, we know this about Kurt. He's the quarterback. He tosses another good one. Let's talk about that. How good has Kurt been tonight so far?
I mean, Team Liquid starting to find more successes in these firefights, and this is a thing that I feel will be great for their morale. They need to get more of these firefights going their way. Feel like they've just got the hot hand, and Kurt's on it, man. Just like you're talking about. He wants to find as much as he can off of it. The Falcons are actually running up right back behind us. Realize the fact that the circle could be a bit vulnerable. 7 seconds before it pops, and Gustav's going to be the point man, running it right back behind. Spots out what's going to be going on. No way. Doesn't really go the way they wanted to as fast as they wanted it, but now Cowboy rested Team Liquid in a little bit of trouble as even the circle has abandoned them.
Yeah, they're stacking up now and they have a decision to make. Do you push the Team Liquid or do you make the move deeper? And now the BRDM provides them with cover as they make their way in, and with those repair kits, you can keep that BRDM in fighting form as we move. But the circle will start closing in about 30 seconds time here. Matt, I'm looking at Wolves in a good position. Fury the same. Last Breath have got themselves a nice little spot in the zone as well. But where else do other teams going to go? Because like the last circle, there's far too many teams left alive for the space that we have.
Yeah, X10's going to have some problems. They've just got to run right into Rock. Team Liquid and Falcons got to figure out how they separate. Wit up to the north, just going to have to deal with Last Breath or Fury, one of the two of them. They don't have any other options. Bestia, in this position that they've been playing for so long, is going to be its own set of issues. Now we're seeing what's going on in San Martin itself as the cluster of squads find less and less buildings to share amongst each other as they move forward. Next 10. I mean, this is about as best that you could hope for, given how many squads are in front of you. At least getting somebody close to the circle is going to be enough.
Yeah, and they've had a decent game so far as well. 6 kills is the last I can remember seeing when they were on the screen. As Sparking catches Toyo. You got Rock, X10, Toyo. You've got Athletes of Christ, Copenhagen Wolves, and 55 Esports, all trying to force it through the streets and alleyways of San Martin towards some form of salvation in the zone. And you can just see it, everybody doing damage onto everyone, and somehow what it takes, getting caught out by the Copenhagen Wolves. But look at this, Wolves doing a ton of damage onto 55, and the Athletes of Christ, they're getting involved here now as well.
Copenhagen Wolves got to be careful. Too many firefights start happening around them. They've already been knocked once. Athletes of Christ, though, Fana holds an angle up on top. That's going to reveal him. He's got to bounce a couple of nades, get some vision off of it. Does manage to take him down. Slows back down the pacing on what's going to be happening in the east. Toyo got some vision on what was going to be happening over there, but they don't want to push too hard. Falcons just trying to get in the circle. Kickstart taking a ton of damage. Bestia is just going to be to the south of them, but it's going to be Furia. Eyes over into the west as Team Liquid made a hard wrap back over into Last Breath, while Wit is also dropping down on top of him. It's a full firefight across this circle right now. Everybody's just trying to scrap.
The 2-2 split from Last Breath. We saw them make this same mistake, Matt. I can't remember if it was your Paro I was on the mic with, but it was What It Takes took advantage last time. This time it's Liquid and What It Takes pushing into this compound once more. Falcons are eliminated as their poor start to the night is going to, well, not poor, they got a lot of kills in game 1, but their slow by their standards start to the night will continue. But here's What It Takes pushing in, and I feel bad for Last Breath. This went really bad for them.
Oh, Wit on one side of it just found a way down into position. Last Breath was holding this for a while. Blazer's strong player, so he's going to try to stay as long as possible there. Sorry about that. Fury, though, finds themselves with the circle, and Bestia in a gatekeeping position as well. Wolves, you've been knocked a couple of times, and you've been having to deal with firefights, and now everybody from San Martin's got to push through you. This is going to be a meat grinder down here with Rock, Toyo, and Athletes of Christ. All eyes set on the circle.
Wolves hoping that all these teams will push them one by one, but unfortunately this is not a perfect world. They are the gatekeepers though, and if I was the other teams, if I'm Toyo or Rock, I'm fighting the teams in San Martin. Let the Wolves pick up the pieces, but get whatever points you can get now as you try to exert yourself or exit yourself from the circle. Now Toyo do have the BRDM mat, that will help them, and as I said at Rock, they just sent it straight in. They're going to try play a Rock by the circle, but Morns will catch out RBN, do a ton of damage, put a good timer on him, and that nade's not quite going to be far enough as we lose Last Breath.
If you saw that line in the way it was set up coming up from Rock, they were all using a Rock to try to deny sightline onto their squad coming out from Wit that was very clean in movement. Should provide them enough time and opportunity to get back in. Athletes of Christ, no compound for you this time. You just gotta fight your way into the circle. Bestia one side, Rock on the other. Crossfire galore could be happening. Copenhagen Wolves can't even raise their heads too freely as Athletes of Christ just trying to run, gun, and mortar their way into it.
2 kills for the Athletes of Christ so far, and they're hoping to add at least 4 more. Haven is 120 meters, ain't quite close enough to capture Flood, but why not send a couple of those mortar strikes up there anyway? The smoke will provide cover, but the blue behind you will provide nothing but pain and misery. Those Doritos are going to fall, giving you at least some way to run up, but Flood is standing and waiting like the turret that he can be. LFP, the first to fall. A lot of damage dealt onto the point player, but you can see just the pressure that's being put on by the Wolves, but here come the Athletes of Christ as well, and they fall.
Toyo timed that perfectly. The focus coming up from Copenhagen Wolves onto Athletes of Christ allowed them to sneak into the circle, but the crossfire coming up from Bestia and Rock hasn't allowed them to go too far. Sure, they've got the BRDM, but now Wolf has to figure out how they're going to get into the circle. Just jumps out, goes for some shots onto Bestia, picks up a kill, and continues on their path. They're trying to figure out where the most vulnerabilities lie and where they can focus in. The problem is, there is nothing. Both sides of this hill are going to be harassed, and now 3 different teams are taking shots at that BRDM. It is getting rough.
Yeah, now Capitan's got basically nowhere to play. Wolves doing damage on one side. Souls will catch his teammate with the nade, and Toyo fall in 7th place. 6 teams left alive, 18 players standing as we welcome back the leaderboard. Frogman with the Dragonov. He's got Santa in his sights, but Santa's waiting for Wolves. But great shots from Snakers might just give them a sliver of an opening.
Oh, it's all about just crossfire positions right now, and can you fight your way out of it? Snakers back behind all of this, just going to try to have eyes onto the circle. Rock, though, they have to look uphill both ways to figure out how that they're going to at least get some type of foothold to hold for the longest period of time. Team Liquid still has Purdy Curdy alive up into the north. Fury is very focused down to the south, so he might be able to find a way to sneak into this one if he's witty enough about it. Wit, though, they've got high ground, they've got control, and they can find their own damage. Gunshot come out from RBN, though. Absolutely demolished the sneak attack.
Nasty with it. The 4x on the AUG peeks around the corner of the rock and takes down Sneak, but unfortunately for RBN, you're not really going to be given a good enough angle to get a flush here. So what it takes will regroup. Furia still holding the compound on the top of the circle, and just a little north of them is Kurt, who is trying to sneak in and get extra points for Liquid.
I love this, though. The knock and the timing coming out from Rock buys them more space because Wit had to commit into the res timings on that one, so they had to surrender some of the control of the circle. Rock is trying to use that to get into better positions on the high side of the hill, but they are vulnerable due to Bestia's positioning as well. So it's really about Rock just trying to find a way to squeeze through and find some cover, while Kurt is doing the exact same thing other side. Still got a ways to go, but Furia,
Sees Posa.
He knows. He knows. He's just got to figure out exactly when the timing's going to work out for him.
I think, as much as the inner voices are saying go for the kill, I think for Kurt, just stay alive, right? You know that Posa's distracted. Kurt wants the point. Kurt wants the point. Kurt, you were better just staying prone and hidden. You're going to get shut down by Posa, and Liquid fall in 5th place. And that could have been bad for Furia, but with all their players still up, they're in a really good spot here, Matt. Still with control of the circle. Down to the south's where the rest of the action is going to kick off, though.
Well, maybe, depending on how these circles lay out. 20 seconds, everybody's kind of found somewhere. There's a couple crossfire shots going on. Rock looks like they want to make the commitment in after Wit. It's full corral going on. The shots coming out from RBN and just that knock that he managed to get contain them enough that Rock is trying to take this. They want to get more space to play from, and a lot of nades being thrown over there, but no love happening just yet. Cannot get the knocks that they want. Instead, it's just going to be foot pushing and firefighting.
Kawazin's going to dip into cover for now, switches into first person to give him the benefit in the actual gunfight itself. But what it takes are still pushing the high ground. You need to look south, though. You need to look down the hill, and that's what they do. Lucid will find one, but Kawazin will find one back the other way. 2 players down for what it takes. 3 up for Rock as RBN will toss the stun grenade up over the hill. That's going to blind and hold the push for now, but here come Furia on the other side. Draft King activates, he gets one, and what it takes become the unfortunate meat filling in a South American sandwich.
Oh, and it's about to get worse. It looks like Bestia's realized what's going on. Rock now kind of trapped over into this position. Furia right up on top of him. Runs out there, finding more kills. Furia furious at the time, and Rock with nowhere to go. Santastico's caught up. He's got to hold back Bestia behind them. At least gets the knock onto Pippa and gets some moment just to try to figure out what the hell they can do to right this one. Bestia does go down. Rock manages to hold it, but here comes the push from Furia.
And with just 5 maps, Sparking knows how valuable every single point can be, so he's going to deny. Rock will get a big win, or big second place, putting them at 25 points, but Furia move up the leaderboard. Big game for them too, getting the win. And I always say, Matt, it's not about winning every game, it's about winning the games that you're supposed to. And they got themselves in a fantastic position, and the circles they got made it that they were the team supposed to win that map.
That was a crazy series of games, or series of circles to look at, Toffees, as, if anything, Rock impressed me just in their ability to focus back on Bestia before the full push came out from Furia.
Gibson, I like you selling the quote from Fuzzface as yours. I dig that. Win the games that you're not supposed to. You know what I'm saying? You're right. That's what it comes down to. Now, another thing you have to do is find those points where you can. Gentlemen, I noticed the Wolves, there was a tough decision for everybody else coming out of San Martin. Do we go for fights or do we go for sends? And it seems like some of our teams chose sends, Gibson, which shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, and it was just easy for the Wolves, but they shouldn't even have been there, Toffees. Like, you consider the fact that they had 3 players down, they were dead to rights, and everybody allowed them to fully regroup and get even more points on the board. But I think you had to send. Like, looking at the circle that we had, if you stick there, you're just going to be downrange, downhill, and down on your luck.
And that was an interesting final circle that we get to go up towards the top of that. Pretty even for everybody, but I think the real talking point here, Matchup, is that that's 2 games down. And I heard you talk about it at the end of the match with Sparking. When there's only 5 games, the onus of performance has to be looming very, very strongly at this point.
Oh, especially for our star players, our big guys, you know what I mean? The ones that are like making these roster swaps, trying to have their, like, I guess their come up, because this is the hard lobby. This is what everybody's been training for, to get ready for in the Americas from the lower side, and the guys that are on the international side that just didn't find the successes they want. This is supposed to be the lobby that makes them feel good again. And for a lot of these squads, I would say that we're expecting this to be way easier. They're not finding it, man. Furia put on a great show. Rock was finding a ton of kills. Respect to those guys. Bestia, it's just South America rounding out the top of our leaderboard right now.
Yeah, Rock playing a very, very aggressive game. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboard. Take a second to sit here on this guy. Athletes at Christ in first at 26. But what y'all need to pay attention to is the top 8 advance directly to the finals. They don't have to play the next 2 days of crazy, all right? So that is something you want to keep an eye on right now as we go down to 8th place. That said, Gibson, it's 9 points for 8th, 0 for 15th. But based on the last game I saw, anyone could really glow up into the top 8 in these last 3 games. How do you manage to make your team not on the cusp going into the last one? What's important with these next 2 games?
I think what the teams that are best in this format do is just stay alive into the late game, getting into the placement points. Like, yes, kills are fancy and kills are great, but I feel like if you can just consistently get in the top, luck comes your way. Just focus on the macro. Do not make silly decisions. Like, I saw a couple of those teams making pushes that they shouldn't have, getting into spots that they shouldn't have. So I think just focus on getting into the placements in the next map, and then placements will kind of stack.
Manage the RNG. I think it's a universal game. You know, and that's that challenge you have sometimes where you get into this idea of, like, is RNG? Matt, what do you got?
I say go for kills, man. If you can't get to the circle, get the kills. Placements are great and all, but kills are what really propel our guys at the top of the leaderboard.
Over the course of 5 games, absolutely. You got to find those points wherever you can get your hands on them. So it is rubber meets road time as we head over to a couple of maybe crazier maps for some of our guys. A little bit open door. Now, Gibson, do you think that at this point, there was a time when I will argue that the change up in maps maybe gave some teams who had a little more grind set a bit of an advantage? I feel like that's kind of gone out the door. Now maybe there's an advantage to drop zones, and that's about it. Do you concur? Or do you still think there's a little bit of a weakness on some teams when it comes to these maps?
I still think there is, and I think those weaknesses are going to get compounded with the fact that apart from Erangel, most of these maps are only played once now. So I think we see it all the time, all the way through cups. Some teams are just inherently stronger on certain maps because their playstyle plays for it. So I think no matter how long we stay in this map format, there's always going to be certain maps that teams are going to favor and certain maps that's not going to work their way.
It's fascinating. Also, I would call... Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, no, I was just looking at something on the map there real quick, seeing how everything was going to be prepping in. I'm just kind of intrigued off of the way we're seeing a very aggressive Copenhagen Wolves. I mean, yeah, they were kind of in the thick point for that one, but that's a very hard position to play, because if you take that position north of San Martin, you're kind of doing the foothold position, hoping that you're inside the circle, playing on edge, and you can kind of gatekeep everybody out. That kind of got thrown asunder whenever Bestia was inside the circle and looking down on top of them, and then they were still having to deal with everybody in San Martin. That's a very dicey situation to try to hold, and we were talking about new IGL switch up with H1 coming in, the way it performed. I thought it was very cleanly played for as well as you could play it, for lack of a better term.
Fair. I will also say that team is fascinating to me, Gibson, because to a certain extent, it feels like they're playing with house money, and I wonder if that mentality transfers over, right? H-Win had 2 days left on roster lock and got picked up by this team. Snakers has a full-time job where sometimes he just won't even go to a tournament if he can't get the time off of work. It feels a little bit like they have this sort of mindset of we can come in and play however we want. Worst case scenario, we don't make it this time. We'll be back again to do it next time. Do you concur with that, or do you think that there is... Because I don't understand how you balance that sort of rogue mentality versus the grind set that so many other teams are having.
I think from the likes of Snakers, you can play that way, because at the end of the day, you're not relying on esports as your primary source of income and how you're going to put food on the table. But for people like Hunter, who were on a good salary on a team like Falcons for so long, they need, this means a lot to them. So yeah, maybe for Snakers, it's one story, but believe it or not, I think for the others, there's a lot of pressure on, because unless you're on Falcons, you need to find a way to put food on the plate, on the table, and for them, qualifying for international events is what's going to do that.
Absolutely. Now, here's another change. You brought up the Falcons. Let's go that way as well. You guys were talking about the IGL changes potentially going on with the Wolves. Falcons. H-Win is gone, Matchroom. That means that the IGL is changing. All signs are pointing to Kickstart. I've got word he's calling today. There's also some shifts going on with, is Tig going to be the anchor? Is Shrimsy going to be the anchor? How are we going to do this? What are your thoughts? First off, Kickstart as the IGL. I know it's only been 2 games, so we can't judge yet, but are you excited about this evolution of his career?
Well, we'll have to see how all of this dust settles regarding the way that the play is going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a more aggressive style. It's hard to register, though, given the fact that the position that Falcons have been forced to play inside the last 2 circles has been them kind of pushing into a hillside that's opened on 2 different fronts, and so they could just they had to kind of walk into a crossfire or go for a long wrap where they were just going to be fighting somebody on edge control. So it's like, I haven't had a point to really go, oh, we're seeing IGL calling here, like what we saw going on with the Wolves a second ago, right? It's just been okay, we're about to have to make a bad push. Maybe we can fight our way out of it. Oh, too many people, we couldn't do that. So I need to see a moment whenever the IGL is the core component of it.
All right, game getting underway, so we're going to keep rolling with this one. Gibson, I saw you nodding along as Matt talked. It sounds like you were tuned in a little bit to his vibes on this taking over his leadership.
Yeah, I think that you're bang on. We haven't seen those real big calls coming in from Fury yet. I think that one thing I will say is, despite the drops they have found themselves on the outside looking in on a lot of these zones. The big change I've noticed is Beamy seems to be the front man. Like 2 or 3 times in the last 2 maps, he's been the first player to push into a fight. And that is a change, right? In the past, you would have seen Shrimsy and Kick being that 1-2 punch, Tiggleton causing nightmares. I am seeing a bit more of Beamy being the main point man. But I will say this, Toffees, just because you're the point man doesn't mean that you're the player that's going to get all the kills. You just start the engagement. A lot of the time, the point man is not the player who gets the most kills on a team.
Now, just because I might be crazy, but I feel like you said Beamy, not Gustav. Where there's not a nickname thing
Gustav.
that I'm missing. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. You never know with those Euros, okay? They could be bouncing all over the place. But I get your point. Go ahead.
Beamy's just in my head all night because people have been talking about him all night, and for some reason he got into my head.
Beamy is in everyone's head at all times. That is his greatest power. That said, I do think Gustav is going to be an interesting pickup. The idea of How are you going to use him? Is he the tip of the spear? Is Tiggleton the anchor? I really liked what I saw out of Tiggleton in the last PGS cycle. He seemed like he was really on game. So I hope whatever his role was continues, and we just sort of see how do Gustav and Shrimzy sort of fit around these other two in their roles, which I'm okay with, right? Because I will say, and I will continue to say it, have always said that pound for pound, Shrimzy is the most valuable all-around player in the Americas, if not the world, right? He can play whatever role you need him to. He'll anchor, he'll lead, he'll breach, whatever. And I think that that means that this team has a great potential to not completely change their system, but edit it just a little bit for what third person requires. Let's check in with Sparking and see what he thinks about his time with Rock.
Principal motivo também, voltar, né, a falar na minha língua materna e representar um time full brasileiro mesmo, né? Porque eu quero ser campeão mundial, mas eu queria ser campeão mundial ao lado de brasileiros por um time brasileiro também. Cara, tranquilo, mano, já conhecia todos eles há muitos anos, então é de boa. O Zezan e o Santa eu também tive o privilégio de conhecer eles pessoalmente em outros campeonatos no ano passado, então é de boa. A gente se dá muito bem, todo mundo aqui é amigo, todo mundo aqui é fechadão. E tem sido maneiro, tem sido uma experiência maneira. E agora ficar esse um mesinho aqui no bootcamp, né? Do lado desse descanso. E... olhando por quê? E é isso. É um moleque, todo mundo aqui é amigo, então o cruzamento sempre vai ser bom. Jogo pra vencer e eu não jogo pra ficar no topo da tabela de stats, tá ligado? Eu acho que uma coisa leva a outra. Tudo que eu faço é a prol da vitória e a prol da classificação. Então é isso que vocês têm que esperar.
He expects to win, and that means he'll flip his motorcycle into a roof if that's what it takes to stop dead. Congratulations to Sparking on his new roster. Matt Gibbs, I'm going to turn it over to you, but I got to say, that interview sounded a lot to me like he secretly said, I got to meet the ownership and got recruited at the last couple of events. See ya.
Oh, coming into this one hot, as it is going to be Furia making the crash right onto X10. A bit isolated here as now Fury looks like they're prepping up the nades, and this is hot, heavy, and in control. X10 just having to hunker down. Nowhere to go. Reinforcements nowhere to be found right now, as it looks like they've just kind of ruled this one out. Defend yourselves, or that's about it.
Yeah, getting a little bit hot in there. DraftKings takes down Kalnix, and I think for X10, it ain't looking good. But while one player survives inside the compound, the rest of the team are forced to commit and help. So for Franks, stay alive long enough for the rest of the team to maybe get angles and help you out just a little bit. Hide close to the wall. Make sure that you can gather as much info as possible while also not revealing your position. And it looks like DraftKings here, Matt's getting close now. That could be a really good nade. It bounces just a little bit the wrong way. DraftKings lucky he moves at the right time.
I mean, Furia saw the vehicles come in, prepped it. Look at the nade come out from Zakrak and just drops it right on his forehead. That was on a guy on the roof of a house. That nade had to go off perfectly, otherwise it was going to roll off. Just great cook coming out from that one. Now down to just 2. X10 in a lot of trouble. Franks in the thick of it, and one last player on a rock on the outside.
Franks will find DraftKings though, giving his team a little bit of a chance of survival in this fight as he drops down to 39 HP. You can see Sante's pushing in to provide some help now too, but the pressure is increasing. Sante falls now as well, and that leaves just Franks left standing. He falls, and, you know, almost, Matt, by Frank staying alive so long, I think it cost his team in the long run, because with him still being in the compound and in the fight, X10 felt like they had no choice to push in and help him. Had he dropped earlier, X10 back off and live to fight another day.
I don't even think that the reinforcements should have come in at that stage. It was a 4v2, isolated inside of buildings. Those guys were as good as dead. I mean, you can maybe fight it back, but that's going to be changes in lobbies. So if you're a squad like X10, remember, you've been playing through the cups. You haven't had squads like Furia come in that are hyper-coordinated on their push and instantly just going to land on top of you. You don't get that little bit of breathing room that a weaker lobby will provide. So it's a learning moment, if anything else like that. I mean, there is a world where they might have been able to fight that one back, but the way that everything's sitting, the way that so many squads are having to rotate, given how southeastern the circle lays, I just feel it was dangerous, but bold.
I agree with you, and that's one of the things that I think X10 are going to have to learn, right? The positive is their performance in Cups means that even if they do not make it into the top 8 tonight, they've got 2 more chances to try to make it into the finals lobby, but they're going to have to clean up decision making like that, as Kick will bring the glider in nicely beside Tig, and, well, I say nicely, it landed. I think that's the nicest thing to say about that one. But I want to pick up on a Gizera point I wanted to talk about before that fight kicked off. sorry, Sparking Point. Sparking said this is the best team South America has ever produced. How much of a difference do you think that there's in this team and the old team that we had, Sparking and Gizera, you know, the old Brazilian powerhouse side?
I mean, it's always hard whenever you're dealing with like South American teams, because there's a lot of confidence in the play and the way that they play, and that kind of feeds into it. So a lot of the times, I don't think that Sparking's like trying to blow smoke up our butts or anything else like that. You just always feel like you're on the best iteration of team, because it's just like everything you want it to do, it just goes and it kills everything the way you want to kill stuff, you know? So I don't necessarily know. We haven't had like the full merge of a squad happen yet, but leaderboard wise, Athletes of Christ got a statement to say about it. They're just dominating, rock up above it. It's just really, really good.
But it's very similar. Like, you claw back to, I think it's 12 months and a week ago now, because I remember that the Masters was on last time that we were doing PAS finals, but it was a South American domination this time last year, and then North America kind of fought back as we progressed into the second half of the year, and we saw North America get back to the way it used to be. But there's just something about the off-season and the work rate for the South American teams puts them in such a good position going into the first half of the year. Like, they're constantly playing. You look at any scrim lobby, any little competitions are being held, Brazilian teams and South American teams are stacking up those lobbies, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why both last year and this year they've come in hot, at least at the early stages of PAS.
Yeah, I mean, there's especially whenever the downtimes didn't happen around like family holidays and those types of things. I've heard specific players from the North American area say it's a bit harder because they have to like do a lot more travel, just because of like everybody going from everywhere from this holiday to that holiday. I don't know. I'm not going to dive into trying to dissect, because I feel like it's intriguing, but it definitely do see a lot of players not necessarily playing with their teams in South America during the breaks, just trying to chain play as much as humanly possible, no matter what it is like you're talking about. So might be a factor, could be 15 other things. I don't know. It's always so hard given the amount of players that we have to just specifically dissect one, I guess, flow, for lack of a better term.
And like, there are a couple of teams, you're speaking about flow, like, you gotta say it, Rock, Athletes of Christ, Wolves, they've been in a flow state so far tonight. Another couple of points for those three teams, and you can already write their names into the into the finals lobby next week. Now, remember, if your favorite team finishes in the top 8 tonight, they will not be playing tomorrow. They will not be playing Sunday. They qualify, and they are replaced by teams that were inside of the cup. So top 8 today, top 5 tomorrow, and top 3 on the final day. And Matt, that final day on Sunday is going to be rough. Trying to get top 3 in any lobby, regardless of skill level of the teams taking part, is just a gauntlet.
Yeah, you got to string together some victories. Team Liquid, though, feeling good, feeling like maybe they can string one together here. They've got a ridiculously good position on this high side hill into a very center position on the circle. Just to the south of them is going to be dual the way you see it set up. It's going to be a lot of, I guess, high ground control positions to be playing into the north, but Team Liquid, definitely the ones that have the feast position right now. 55 is going to squeeze by Falcons, find themselves into a good spot. Down to the south of the circle, though, it's a lot more plains and a lot more open, so teams trying to avoid that. We're going to see firefights specifically in the east, northeast, predominantly where we see the Wolves coming in, and Rock trying to bully their way in down to the south.
55 rotating past Team Liquid here, as well as Kurt, who's been really good on the night, is going to try to chase them away. But 55 are locked in, and they're willing to take on this fight, at least for now, as Gabri gets a bit of an angle on the A-low, but isn't quite able to do enough damage to find the knock. Kurt trading 20 damage back the other way, and I think that might just be enough to force 55 further back. They don't want to get too invested in this fight as we turn our attention to this battle between Duel and No Way.
No Way doesn't look like they want much of it, though. Duel is just going to come and get position. Pentalol gets the knock on the DNL, and that's going to be No Way getting out of position. Everybody in the circle is kind of rejoicing, though, with the push that happened from 55. Team Liquid can't really hold the angles that they wanted to defend this. That's also allowed Copenhagen and Wolves to kind of squeeze in down below them. And now this hillside, where Team Liquid had a lot of dominance, is going to have to start dealing with a couple of squads that are trying to take it away from them.
Yeah, and Duel now just chasing no way away, and I like that, right? Duels get aggressive, they steal the spot away, they get a kill on the board, just keeping them in that top 8 for now, just ahead of what it takes. Elsewhere around the zone, the New Gen All-Stars have a great spot south of Kangyong on the road. They've got what it takes just to their north, and inside of Ohyang, it looks like Last Breath are just going to play inside the city, but more importantly, they're playing around a recall beacon so they can get, if they get in any fights and they win it but they lose a player or two, they can get all 4 members back in.
If we see this hard shift down to the south, there might be a couple of people that eye going for Ouyang, but it's kind of its own isolated island right now with the amount of fields. It's good, but whenever they have to leave, you can see where Bestia set up in high ground, where No Way kind of just retreated to. There's going to be a couple of crossroad positions that are going to make it scary over there. We also kind of have a dead zone right in the middle of the circle where we have Team Liquid and Athletes of Christ playing just to the west of them. There's also another set of fields, rice paddies that are going to be over there, make it a lot more complicated. There's a lot of verticality that's happening in the circle, specifically into the north and the west, and it's going to make it very hard over the next 30 seconds for these teams to figure out how they want to prep for it. But yeah, it gets a little bit of vision on what's going to be going up on the high side with Team Liquid, but Snakers does go down. This is Team Liquid holding a good position, but Copenhagen Wolves got to be careful as 55 is still so close.
These two teams can't live here with a symbiotic relationship. I think Liquid know they've got to put a bit of pressure onto Wolves or fall back and play on the higher ground. You just cannot play that close to a team like the Copenhagen Wolves and just live at safety, right? They're going to just constantly be a nuisance. So if I'm Liquid, I'm pushing for the kill or I'm playing a little further back and hoping that maybe Wolves can be more of an early detection system. And well, Matt, with a circle shift we had, Wolves are definitely going to be an early detection symbol for a lot of teams because they'll be moving up from that south.
Yeah, notice New Gen All-Stars, they're going to be in control over this eastern corridor along with Duel. Maybe kind of defending Wolf in the way that they're going to be playing. This is going to be really weird to see how teams are going to be playing around this because the Team Liquid Hill that's been so strong for a while now is going to have a lot of people just trying to slam themselves as hard as they can against the rocks to maybe find some spattering of a position to play from, specifically down south. Squads you're talking about with Ouyang, they've got to move now. We've got Pest Control, it's got to go. Duel, it's got to go. Toyo realizing that they've got to get in the circle, now lined up against a Rock on an entirely different position. Rock, the way that they're playing this, though, the way they've got RBN playing point, the other players are still back in Buksun Sa, so Toyo might be able to steal this if they go fast enough, but I don't think that they know it's just a solo.
Yeah, they can't take that risk either here as well. They're looking for a home, and, well, the opportunity's lost. They will have heard the rest of Rock moving in now, and they'll have to fight another day. Vox, he'll manage to find one, Flood finds another, and Last Breath, well, they're holding on maybe for 2 last breaths, I guess you could say, with 2 players still alive and in the fight, but Wolves doing exactly what you'd expect for Liquid, just signaling these teams moving in. Snakers confirms out a kill. Now Duel are on the other side. Alo will pick up that one, and Last Breath, it's rough. I think they tried to thread the needle, and unfortunately for them, the aim just wasn't quite there.
Playing in the shade of the hillside where 55 and Team Liquid are at, Copenhagen Wolves are doing a good job on just kind of holding the position and using the little bit of cover and compound that they've got right now. I wouldn't say compound, maybe like kind of a building, as it's going to be dicey for Pest Control. A squad with a lot of expectations now presently down in 16th place. K-Line, Joshi, Hot and Spicy, and Conf, they have their work cut out for them as they're going to have to bisect right next to Duel New Gen All-Stars if they just try to brute force it through. And if they go for a long wrap, there could be 3, 4, maybe even 5 squads that they have to contend against.
Yeah, and remember, this is the last game of the night, the halfway point of the night. What am I Matt, I am all over the place tonight, but this is the halfway point. So if you're still on 0 points after this, your chances of qualification are really low from that point on. So Toyo, they'll move in, but I'm curious as to what Pest Control are going to do next. Toyo's options as they rotate in, do they play on the hillside, just on the other edge of Liquid? It's an option. Do they play near Falcons? It's another. But I speak about Pest Control. They push the New Gen All-Stars, and K-Mine's the first to fall.
You just got to make a choice, and it's not necessarily always going to be the best one, but you just have to make something happen. Comp being the guy that's playing back behind it all. New Gen All-Stars has to regroup, and while this is happening, Wit realizes this. Sneak attack comes up right back behind all of this, takes away a lot of the building. Circle pops. Now New Gen All-Stars aren't even inside the circle. Pest Control lured them out, but Duel doing a back wrap behind Pest Control has made it even worse. What it takes, finds a great opportunity and steals away a great position to play in this new circle.
And remember, this could move them into the top 8 if they pick up enough points. A sneak attack does even more damage on Iga. Tiggleton on the other side of the circle, he is getting at the Tignometry as he is taking down 2 members of Toyo. But keep an eye on Sneak. Good blue zone. He had tossed on in. That'll start ticking on to Iga. Damage sprayed on to Shinboy as he puts it in the pressure through the gap of the door. Pest Control stepping on up as Joshy and Hot and Spicy will manage to get a knock each, and it's going all wrong here for the New Gen All-Stars. Hot and Spicy tries to confirm a kill, but the pan is going to keep him up. But the New Gen All-Stars, they're eliminated. Joshy, the last player up on what it takes, should not allow the rest to happen. And here come Duel as well.
Just a complete backfill coming up. Pest Control wants to try to get their meds back into a better position. Blue Zone is coming in pretty slowly right now, so at least have some time to work with this. Might not even be the last contender. Don't forget that No Way is going to be over here. Rap's going to be going on from Bestia over to the west. Athletes of Christ also do still need to get into the circle, as well as Rock. So big moving factors, but this has been the focal point. Duel on high side has spotted out No Way back behind them. They've got to deal with that firefight. That's going to give Pest Controls maybe some time to deal with this. And Wit just realizes that this is becoming a cascade of teams. And do they want to hold the line or do they want to surrender it?
Yeah, Joshy's best friend there was No Way, putting the pressure on to Duel and forcing them on full retreat on the other side. So getting very hot down in that southeastern side of the circle. Tig still got the mortar ready. He's done a ton of damage on the one team. He's got the eye on the Sparking as well, and he might just pop the tire to immobilize him. A headshot on the Sparking as well, and if he has any mortars left, could be a huge problem. And Matt, No Way dealt with by Duel. They move up to 4 kills now, and while that was going on, Joshy's trying to make the great escape.
Yeah, it just tries to leapfrog around all that's going to be going on over here. It's him, and he got the reses onto the other 2, so yeah. This is a good read. Just tries to get into the circle. There's a compound that's just going to be the north. Wit did leave one of their players pretty far behind. Athletes of Christ, though, they've just got to fight their way in, and this is going to be into the foothills that Team Liquid was kind of forced down into while they were holding the high ground position earlier. They've kind of now had to deal with points, but good shots coming up yet again from Kurt, countered back by Tony onto Alo. Team Liquid just with 2 up lines, and Athletes of Christ finally falter.
Is he your early MVP candidate for tonight? Because Kurt is on one. Phase 4, going to get some meds, get some nades, get some whatever he can find off these bodies, as Rock will rotate past, and now they're going to gatekeep Liquid. So Liquid have just found themselves really struggling and literally stuck between a rock and a hard place on the edge of the zone here, Matt. And I don't know, this is looking really bad for the Galloping Horses.
Yeah, I mean, even if they make a flank around down to the south, they're going to have to deal with Wolf and the rest of the squad, the way it's set up. The way the circle is now popped, we have Falcons that have to get into the circle ahead of them. Of course, you can see the skirmish that's going on with Bestia. Tig, do you got the angle for it? Do you got... Looks like he's pretty prepped in. Does he have the range right? 120. Yeah, it might be pretty good. At least hit the tail end of it. See how that's going to stack in. How close did he get?
Oh,
a bit too far one side.
Yeah, but guess what? He shoots pretty damn good, does Tig. He gets the knock on to Vinny. Peepa's in a world of pain now as double nades are tossed on and Falcons are getting... Oh, come on, Tig.
Oh, no.
Yeah, get in the Datsy instead. Get in the Datsy instead. That was
a literal
not
traffic
good.
jam. I don't have anything else they could do. Falcons, they had such a good play, and now the timing on everything's gone wrong for them. This is an issue. Bestia, though, is focused in. Nothing else is happening. There is no third party. This is its own isolated firefight, but notice Binya off to one side.
Oh, nade,
tries to
good
prep
nade,
up the
good
nade,
nade.
throws it in right back behind. A bit too far. Kick doesn't see the entirety of it, but Ghost off runs in. Kickstart gets the knock, and Bestia in a lot of trouble now. Frogman, Binya just watching on the outside. Positions revealed.
2 meters to the left, and that nade could have wiped out 2 Falcons, but this is not a game of chance. He didn't aim it right, and now Bestia are on the back foot. 2 players left standing, Frogman and Benya, as Pest Control will fall, but they did break their duck. They got 5 points on the board in this one at least, so moving up that leaderboard as things stand. Frogman looks like he's gone on full retreat, sprinting up over the ridgeline as Shrimsy tries to lead the shots, but will click on empty. A good headshot, and it's actually going to be Frogman down to 1 HP. but still alive and in fight. Did I just see 700 damage on Tig? Yes, I did. Tig is just farming now as he turns his attention to Rock.
The Northwest has just been the corridor that they've had complete and utter control over, and now they've got control over most of the North. Fury is separated out. It looks like maybe they were trying to get pretty close to what was going on with the res beacons over there. To the south, Copenhagen Wolves got to fight their way into the new circle, but Team Falcons has spotted out Rock, who is holding back Team Liquid. Kurt's still alive for them for the time being, but trapped out in the blue zone, and it's about to be phase number 6. That's going to make it Tingle Toyo on the high ground with just one player alive, looking down onto the Falcons as well as 55 kind of holding out the hillside over into the east. Fury is going to spot out Frogman, and it's just going to make it even crazier as now we've got Furia east, Falcons west, and everybody else just on the hillside.
Yeah, and that hill is just going to be full of bodies by the time this game is over. You can see getting ready for that next circle shift now. The Wolves will move up to the hill now that we saw Liquid play earlier, and that is a no man's land circle for anybody who is not on that hill. Kurt, still alive inside the blue. He will try to sneak in behind Rock, who would need to keep an eye in for that potential rat, but look at Wolves closing the gap to Rock now as well.
Look at BL, though, for Fury while we have the map up. See how there's a contained angle on top. This is a perfect trap to try to catch the Falcons, who are going to try to play just along that hillside. But you are correct. Now it's 55. Holding down good points, finally finding some of their own. They have to deal with the Wolves, but Wolves, there's just no path in. They are just circling around, but there is maybe a moment where if the Wolves go after Rock, Kurt could provide some assistance.
Yeah, Glock, though, will just move a little further up. Kawazine getting at the ready, but Snakers draws quicker. Gets the shots off on the Rock. A lot of damage being dealt on the player further back as Santastico and Kawazine both now find themselves on the wrong side of the jaws of the Wolves. They're hunting in a pack now as they move towards Sparking, and that's the go signal. Falcons, realizing this fight is kicking off, has realized it's opened up the door for a third party. Rock now really struggling to stay alive and in the game, and this is the distraction potentially that Kurt needs as Toyo were eliminated as well.
Fury is taking complete control over the circle into the north, so that means that Falcons is just going to have to brute force their way right up on top of Wolf yet again. Kurt's going to be back behind Wolf, watching it go. Also spots out Rock just running to the hills. No, well, I should say hill because that's the only one that's got anything going on right now. High ground right now, goes for the shot. Kick, at least gets the knock on the Sparking. So it's going to buy out more. Team Liquid goes down as well, so it's going to be Wolf as well as Falcons. High side hills fighting between each other, and it's going to be Furia with some oversight.
Gustav and Kick now going to have to work as the only two Falcons left standing, but the Wolves, as we said, have got them in their maws. BL is closing the gap as well as Furia on 10 kills. You spoke about contain, now it is about collecting. Snakers will get the angle. Down goes Kick, and well, Furia's BL, he wants to get at least one more onto this fight too, but unfortunately for him, it is Snakers who's going to hit 5 kills now. Wolves move to 8, 37 points through almost 3 completed maps now, and they are just battling on it. Really good performance from Wolves all night.
First place for them on the leaderboard right now. Other side of them is going to be 55. Still playing down in the recess dip. Fury's got control over the rest of it, and it is a straight up 4-man for everybody. 55 coming into this with the least amount of information. Wolves have the high ground, but Fury has everything else.
And they've got Snakers in the site. They get the knock, but there's going to be no push to flush it out. I like the way Fury are playing this. Instead of putting themselves in the middle of the zone, fully and getting in this position where you can get backfilled, they're keeping a little bit towards the northern and the eastern edge, basically meaning that they're not going to get caught by surprise here. Circle shift will force 55 to make a decision. They cannot really path directly towards the center of the circle. It's being held by Draft King, and the other side being held down by Wolves. This is a fun one, because I feel like 55 are going to be the kingmakers. Whichever team they push, the other team will look to take advantage.
Oh, I don't even know if they can do too much. We've seen 55 play pretty passive. They've got a little bit of that hillside. Furia is the closer team to them. There is no doubt of that. But the way that the hillside sets, Furia has more control over angle and positioning. Wolf, even if they try to just backfill and go after a fight that breaks out, they still have to deal with BL's positioning over here because that is the linchpin position. If BL goes down, so much of the circle control that Furia is playing for right now, the way that they're lined up, the way that they're positioned, they're going to lose it. You can see that Furia is still staying back behind this. still keeping containment angles over into the east, making sure that 55 doesn't wrap around. Furia is almost using 55 as a catalyst because they know that Wolf is also going to have to move into a more open sightline for them. If anything, Furia is set hoping 55 has to fight with Wolf, and then they can just kind of pounce onto it. And that's exactly what they're going to try to set up. Find kill after kill, anything that reveals onto their side of the hill, which, 70% of the circle is going to be, means the fact that you're just having to firefight. And Wolf knows that. They're now having to step down into 55, and look, Fury doesn't even have to chase it. They can just let it happen and then come after whatever wants to come after next.
Yeah, I love the way Fury are playing this, and you're spot on with your what you said there too. They're trying to force 55 into the fight with the Wolves, so they can then pick up the pieces. BL will use the distraction to take control now of the center point, and this is all playing into Furious hands at this point. Vox drops a great nade on top of Kerak and Kraken third parties. So at this point, 55 are really getting torn apart by two Apex Predators, and Gabri, he's just going to go prone. Nidavon does have the Panzer, and that could cause pain, and that's a big knock on to Posa. That buys both of these other two teams a little bit of respite to focus on each other.
Here's the thing. Furia has a great strategy, but Wolf isn't biting too hard right now. They're coming into this one as controlled as they can, but they can firefight their way out of it. If Wolf gets their aim, if they get the angles set up the way they want to in this high ground, Furia's positioning becomes a lot weaker. 55 isn't going down, and that knock, like you said, onto Posa is slowing back down the pacing on everything. It's forcing Fury to play this more aggressive than they wanted to. BL's having to get very close to Wolf to force these contains in, but notice the way it's set up. Flood isn't going after the 55 side of this one. It feels like Wolf knows, no, we've got eyes on winning this game. Instead, we're going to take control over the positions they're playing. Gabriel gets the knock onto Posa. This is starting to turn a lot more brutal than Furia wanted.
That's the second knock that he's sustained, and this time he's going to get flushed out in 55. I said they're going to be kingmakers. They're focusing all their efforts now closer and closer towards Furia. BL, he's got himself a little bit of cover with the Doritos in there, and Flood is just hugging that tree for dear life, feeding information. A good smoke sent out by his teammate to provide cover for a little bit more of a peek around the edge. See if he can spot out any more members of Furia. Good nade though. That was in Flood's pocket. You could not have thrown that one any better. And now it's a 2v3v3. All of these teams sustaining a lot of problems, but it doesn't look like there's a secondary need to follow up, but BL's going to close that gap.
I mean, he's got to play this position. He has to keep Wolves contained. That's what Furia is playing for right now. They want this firefight to break out so that way they can play along the hillside, but Wolves are just trying to fight their way out of it, realizing the way that this could go and how the fact that they don't want to be a part of the sandwich. 55 has no options. They're having to play the other side of what's going on with Furia, pulling multiple players away. Bielsa now a lot more isolated than he wanted to be, and the smokes are dissipating. The hillside, high ground, gonna be stronger. Shots come out from Flood. Kraken goes down. Furia now finding themselves in a lot more trouble as Wolf is just running down this hillside. They want to feast here.
Yeah, they've got everybody where they want. They are the hunters. The rest of the lobby is the prey. 55 and Furia now basically battling to see which team is going to come second. DraftKing landing 933 damage now, but it is a 3v1v1. Gabri throws the stun, but you got to be a bit more aggressive off the back of it because DraftKing's going to be there, but Snakers gets the off angle. They're howling now. They've DraftKing with his back to the blue, and Copenhagen Wolves are about to take a massive victory, Matt.
You can have all the strategy in the world, but sometimes if you just get outshot, it does not matter. Wolves played this patiently, and now you can see Snakers throwing out a little bit of fun. One up, DraftKing, back against the blue zone. Does he try to go for the fight, or does he surrender the point? I mean, he's got the rock, he's got safety, and Wolves know they've got this game. They can let this one slide. They were already at the top of the leaderboard, and if they find more, great. But DraftKing, man, he wants, if he can get a knock on that side angle, maybe he can go for the 2v1. Is there the opportunity presenting itself? He doesn't even have a helmet, man. This is going to be hard shots to hit. Can he get more out of it? No. Blue zone's going to eat it.
Yeah, they just dip out at the end, but you got credit, like, he gave it a shot, he got a nice knock in the end, but Furia for having such a good position in that game. At one point that looked like it was in the favor. Like if we had the stat lines at the top, they would have had the higher percentage chance of winning. But those knocks on the Posa turned the game on its heels, Toffees, and the Wolves are looking so good.
It is raining cats and dogs at the top of this leaderboard as Copenhagen Wolves do look good. I don't know why they're Copenhagen, but I love that they're in North America because they're putting up some big numbers. They look strong. I will say there's a little bit of a honeymoon energy to the way that they're playing right now. A little bit of vengeance on the menu, Matchroom. But I think if this maintains itself, like these guys look very good against the strongest of NA lobbies.
Yeah, this is a very dominant showing. I mean, good read from the Wolves and how that was going to play. Furia's strategy on how they were playing the end game was also really good. I'm curious on how that would have played out with any team except for 55 that was playing inside of that dip. 55 can sometimes play a bit passive. Another squad might have stepped out, tried to go after Wolves and provided what Furia wanted to have happen there, but sometimes it's just the strategy doesn't go the way you want because the other guys just won't bite. And that's exactly what happened there.
I think it's wild, Gibson, that the top of the leaderboard is wolves, cats, birds, horses, and the one who created them all. What are the chances of all of these animals up at the top? Because they're playing so gosh darn well. I'm blown away by these rosters, but more importantly, I'm a little surprised by some of the teams that haven't really been putting up the numbers. And yet another game we see what it takes falling off. We see New Gen All-Stars not getting the numbers that they would have liked. 55 Esports, despite making the big three, only coming away with 5 kills. There's definitely been some letdowns as well as some big excitement.
I think you hit it right, the nail on the head. The team that's kind of disappointed me most tonight is What It Takes. This is a team that if you think back to every iteration of this roster, they've always been the thorn in the side of the Falcons. They've always put up really good points, particularly in the playoff stages, but they've just not got going. And they're the only animal team, with the pandas in their logo that haven't been on that other side of the leaderboard. I think this is a big 2 maps for What It Takes coming up. Yes, they've got 2 more days if today doesn't go the way they want it to. But remember, spots in the finals are dropped significantly after tonight.
Yep. Also, again, New Gen All-Stars, another team that I think needs to sort of step up. You said good bail, bad bail. Which one are we going to see? As of now, it's still up in the air. Top 8 teams, as Gibson just mentioned, advance to the final. Everyone else has to come back and fight tomorrow to make the top 5. And if you don't make the top 5 there, you got to come back the day after to make the top 3. The stress is increasing as the team's desperate to make the top with only 2 matches left to play. Copenhagen, Furia, both looking pretty solid, and the advance. Rock as well. Where do we start to worry when it comes to cutoffs, Matchroom, with only 2 games left?
With 2 games left, I mean, I would even say there's a world if Falcons and Liquid just get 0s apiece that they could be overtaken. Thing about it, though, is a lot of the squads on the right side of the leaderboard, they're not finding very many points. I mean, squads that we can have some expectations for, such as Pest Control, finally off the donut that they were sitting on. That's good. No more 0s. But it's not like there's a lot going on the left side of the leaderboard that is insurmountable whenever we look at this. I mean, there's just, a couple of points here and there. Not even really winning a game can get you into the top 8 right now. You just got to get something.
Yeah, it's not lost on me that with the exception of our top 5 who look pretty comfortable, everyone else is right there in striking distance. So if you are in that 6, 7, 8, you can't be comfortable because everybody wants to close that gap. And with 2 games left to play to determine who goes to the grand final, now's the time for the gap close. You got to make a move. This is their chance to do it. We'll be back right after this break.
I think this has been a success regardless. And they're going to get shot out by PL as he's been able to survive through the majority of this game. So that's a nice little start. Getting destroyed. Gets himself him out. Can he get himself all 3? And he said this one. Yes, he gets it. What a recovery.
On fire. I wonder what the comms are like right now. Mime's a very vocal guy. I love that. DraftKings coming into. Oh, look at that.
Trying to go for the res regardless. Great throw on that one. As of course, with 2 players down, they have to make a play happen here. Vox, the spearhead now. Trying to rev on down. A snake has continued.
To an extent, they're split, and then you have all of that.
Time to send it, see what you can get, and look at this. Everybody's taking shots.
Yeah, that shift was pretty rough for Falcons there. But P90 might just be too much to deal with in the end, and Luke 12 finds another one. Baron will go down and kiss the last one alive. He's been spotted through the smokes. Luke 12
Better. RBN, who we just heard from a second ago, finds Purdy Curdy and gets the knock onto him.
Yeah, they've been completely silent.
Be consolidated with likes of Falcons, Genji, and Fury have to go, but Falcons already stretching their way out. SDG get caught not just once, but twice.
where these guys are, they're going to have to leave that spot eventually. And another knock coming in. Big nade, and now Penta is just going to crash in, and that is pretty much academic. Duel will take a...
He gets himself one. LFP stands in the open, but he's shut down by Hot and Spicy. It's a 3 versus 1. Now make it 3v none.
For a team like New Gen All-Stars that are sitting up at the top.
Yeah, oh, that's a great shot from Gladiator. Now he's got a zero to deal with. There's a peak battle. Do not get the headshot multiplier. So this fight really works in favor of X10. Big nade launched on the edge, and it does a ton of splash damage to 2. That's a focus on to X10. X10 lose 2 in the blink of an eye. Mars is going huge on the opposite side for his team. Mars steps through and he gets another one. Is he going to get all 4?
Safe until suddenly it's not. Here comes the speaking of it's safe until it's not. Oh my God! Base of injected and a little bit of this hillside cliff that drops down over into the, I guess, the center and the west of what we're watching. K-Mine though.
Welcome back. It is time for game number 4, which means we're past the halfway mark. Had to do that NA math. It's not the easiest. And everybody has to make moves right now. We're going to, in a minute, go back to the leaderboard because I think that that's the most important thing for us to sort of frame match them. As the two of you take us into the next game in a few minutes, it really does come down to that race for the top 8 because I do think it becomes weirder, scarier, and creepier in the following days as the teams shuffle out.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also the looming threat of a couple of big squads aren't really stacking up some points right now. Team Liquid and Falcons stacked up at 22. It's safe-ish. I wouldn't say safe. There's a world where some of these other squads, we know that there's some strength. Toyo down in 14th place is a great example of that. Can find some really big games for themselves, so you can't let off the pedal. You're seeing signs of good play coming out from, I would say, like 5th through 8th, but not consistency yet.
Yeah, I think Falcons and Liquid, if they can stay the course, get a couple of points here, they should be pretty comfortable, Gibson. But the question is now, with Copenhagen Wolves at 46 and essentially qualified for the finals, is there a chance? Is there a chance that they choose to maybe send Falcons a message and keep them from playing today?
I don't think so. And the reason I say it is I think they need as many reps with Hunter as they can get playing to their full potential, right? You're going into the playoffs. He said it himself. He was dropped 2 days before roster lock. I think forget about personal issues. Lock in and use this practice because this is the strongest lobby that you will play until the playoffs.
That's true. If Seifu can't be mad, neither can you. It happens. That's the way that the professional game goes. We make improvements, we make roll, and we go forward. And also, Seifu as a sub on that team is going to be lights out, especially if Snakers gets hung up on some events later this year. But I do find that interesting. I think you're right. I think they don't go, mostly because you don't want to start that, right? Like your first game out, you don't want to start that blood of like, we're going to mess with each other. And I think maybe that early fight with game one that we saw matchup. I think it was Falcons versus Wolves pretty early on. Was cathartic in its own way, and maybe give everybody what they needed to take a breath and say, okay, new rosters, new game, let's go.
I mean, it is Snakers on a squad with H-Win.
I know.
I wouldn't be shocked if they decide to start playing some games and do anything else like that. There's a vibe on that squad that if they wanted to, they could kind of play a villain role, and I'm not counting it out yet.
Well, I mean, but like, let's go.
The opportunity has to present itself, though. It's not like they're going to go chase them down.
Go even further. Presumably their shot caller is now the guy who knows every minutia of the Falcons system and rotations going forward. So it could end up being a wild opportunity. Probably not today, Gibson, but in the future, the Falcons has to watch their back. I mean, honestly, for me, one of the hardest parts of that trade, if I am an owner, if I am a coach, is giving up that years of practice, but also that years of brain, like the amount of time, effort, and work that's got into their system, and you're letting someone go who has that system ingrained into them, that's going to make any other team incredibly strong.
We've seen it before. Like, it's not the first time it's happened. I think one example I want to give, I'm not comparing Wolves with What It Takes, but the What It Takes players, they play a lot with the Falcons. They talk a lot to Falcons leadership and, you know, get advice from Gunnar. We saw how much of a thorn in the side they would then be for them. But I think we should hear what Gustav has to say, speaking of Falcons.
Legend in the Americas region, won almost everything, and his fans, like, I need to play my absolute best to live up to it, but I know I will, and I just need to focus on myself and do my best pretty much. I mean, yeah, for sure need to do some adjustments because I'm playing on, I went from playing on 5 to 10 ping to now playing on 200 ping. The game feels completely different. You can kind of play around it with your advantage in some specific ways by making sure you're always the guy peeking into the enemy. So that's probably the most important thing. But then I will say, like, Falcons, the team itself is just, it's very different from what I'm used to. The teamwork is absolutely insane. Yeah, I would say a little bit. I don't think region matters that much, but I think Falcons probably matters. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of fans, but then at the end of the day, it's all in your own head. But I do think feeling that at least the excitement part is very important. That makes me play a lot better when I'm just excited to play. I want to be there. It's something I look forward to. So I for sure hope I'm having that feeling tomorrow when I play. The nervous part, I don't know. We will see.
I don't believe that Gustav gets nervous. Even when talking at 1.3x speed, I don't think that he gets nerves. This guy's a consummate professional. He's been doing this for a long time, just like the two of you. Fight's about to break out. I'm going to turn it over to you as the trap may be sprung.
Last breath, eyes on Toyo. This is a pretty good position on circle. This is due center as well as we look at it, but I don't think that Toyo's got the positioning to play for it. It's just too many numbers. So Fixen's got to retreat. I will say, though, I do find it interesting what Gustav said there, that region doesn't matter. I think that whenever we look at Europe and Americas now, Gibson, that's kind of become the mindset for a lot of players. There's not a lot of inter-regional rivalry anymore between them. It's more just like becoming even a giant one mega region.
Well, look at scrims, right? Falcons would always scrim inside of Europe. Liquid do the same. Like, teams from the North Americas like scrimming inside of Europe. They know each other inside out. I think because there's a lot of consistency with the top teams in Americas who go to international events too, the players form friendships. You see it when you go to these events. You've seen it more than most, Matt, with all the events you've attended in your time. These players hang out with each other. So apart from, I think, the fans of the regions being like, oh, Europe better, oh, North America better, I think that these players, they're happy to be here, and I think getting used to the ping, though, will be the biggest difference maker for Gustav.
Good point. Good point on that one. Is the way that the circle is set, keep in mind we do have a little bit of Jadina City in, so we've got the river that runs next to it and then cuts north. That's going to be on the eastern part of the circle. There's a lot of water, a couple small lakes that are going to be over there. It means that most teams are going to be expecting the circle to kind of shift to the west at some point. That's why we're seeing an offset on positional play come out right now. Neox Factory is going to be where the Falcons are going to be at. They're going to be able to come down south pretty clean. Should be a pretty good position. Rock already playing along that line, as well as Toyo in that great spot we were talking about a moment ago. 55 also over there. No big rush to come into the circle just quite yet, as there's a lot of open territory, but there's also a lot of like verticality that happens specifically into the south and to the west of that.
Yeah, and you look at it, right? You talk about the South and the West, it's all good, but the East is no man's land. Like, I think you'll have some teams playing on the banks of that river, but otherwise, if you're near there already, you know that you're not going to get too much pressure coming your way. But I'm looking to see how things are happening with other teams, right? Liquid, look, you and I know it. They've got Teflon when it comes to the zone. Like, when's the last time you've ever seen Liquid get a phase 1 shift? They got to rotate all the way from Stadium in towards the north, but funny enough, Matt, it's clear pathing, because Falcons have left Neox Factory already. 55 are gone. Fury is rotating now. Liquid are going to rotate into a vast amount of free space that they can play with, and you pointed out before the map started, they've not really had the best night of it. Like, yes, Kurt's picking up a ton of points, but it's kind of not too dissimilar to what we saw internationally. I said teething problems. I think they're still getting used to the big difference in Sparking and Cowboy, and that's not a knock on Cowboy. I think he's incredible, but Sparking was one of the best players in the Americas. Are you there, Matt? Am I by myself?
Oh, you know, I'm sitting here looking at it, and sorry about that. It was a little bit of an issue there for just 1 second. Whenever I'm looking at this, the circle to the north is just pretty open, and there's just not a lot that's going on over there other than Neox's test track. So Furious are going to take that. That's led the cluster of players. They're playing down the south, and a lot of these firefights that we're starting to see break out. So really, the south is the area that most people are going to be wanting to play, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see more brewing out of that.
Yeah, and now you're seeing No Way try to get out of here. We saw them get pushed a little earlier on tonight and do the exact same thing. They don't necessarily like to stay inside of fights, as what it takes pushing. No Way are going to leave, make their way towards the north now, and just give up that position. But No Way, bottom of the leaderboard, 4 points. Their only bit of joy, I suppose, that you could say is the fact that 8th place isn't that far ahead. I think it's 9 points, Matt. That's a good game.
Yeah, and especially with the way that the points are spread on this one, just about anything you can get if you're, like, essentially not in the top is going to be great for you, because just a spattering of points can put you in a decent position. Anybody that's in, I would say, the bottom 8 right now, a squad wipe will put you in touching distance of being inside the top 8. So you just got to find the firefight that works for you and pray that Wolf, Fury, Rock, and Athletes of Christ just stop killing everything, so that way you get a chance to get something, because this is a circle that can provide it, provided the fact that you know how to navigate it, because it is a bit dicey. Tulin is kind of weird.
Wolves rotating in now off the back of another good map. 46 points through 3 maps as things stand. They're averaging more than 10 points a map going into the ending phases of the night. Toyo, they've got a 2-2 split. I think that we've seen them hold this split now for well over a year. This is where they like to play inside these circles. The Athletes of Christ get one member of Liquid. Another one might be about to fall. LFP confirms out Alo, and that is a really good drive-by hold from the Athletes of Christ. 279 damage for LFP as he will chase Cowboy off into the distance. And oh my god, Fana, he's going to get a drive-by of his own, and he gets another Liquid member.
I mean, Athletes of Christ, this is what they were doing. They found exploitation points to really just put the foot down onto somebody whenever they get some type of advantage. Team Liquid, we were talking about the importance of not getting zeros right now for these squads that are holding down 22 apiece, because it's not quite safe yet. This is a terrible start for them. They're going to be external from the circle coming into this in that northern area. It's going to be very open, and yep, circle goes southwest just like everybody was expecting. That means Kurt's going to be on a big rotate.
Yeah, he's all by himself, and he's been the main point getter for the team so far. 55. They leave it all down to Gabri now, fighting against the Wolves. Flood, Snakers, and H1 have all fallen. Meaning this is essentially a 1 versus 1. But as you said, Furia third party in the action. These teams know that it's all about this next kill. Vox will confirm one, and he's going to get out of there. But can he hit the pedal to the metal before Fury get an angle? It looks like he just about managed to do so.
Taking some damage. He just has to get past that tree, and he's feeling okay-ish. Benefit is, at least on this pathing, it's not too compressed. Most of the team's still playing a bit more towards center right now, so He's got to find somewhere to stop off. There's no chance to really go back after his teammates. He's hoping that maybe Fury will just continue going after it, but Wolf now in some trouble. They got 11-point lead over Furia, though, so not too bad. Furia, though, has a chance for a big game for themselves as well as Athletes of Christ, but in the center of the circle, it's going to be Rock eyeing everything.
And if you are on the wrong side of the leaderboard, you're not going to win this game, you hope that it's somebody like Furia or Wolves that get the vast majority of the points. You don't want any of the teams in and around you being the benefactors of a map like this. So keep an eye on what happens over the rest of this one. South side of the circle starting to look really clear here. I think What It Takes are really the only team in line with Hongshan and that southern side. But I'm looking at New Gen All-Stars. They're on the south side of Jadena City, and the longer they wait to rotate in, the more space they're actually going to get, Matt.
Yeah, everybody wants to move away from the Tulin line and really kind of the cluster of roads that happen in between Jadena and Hongshan. So that's no surprise, but that does kind of knock them out of a couple of these high ground points that we're looking at. Duel's in a great spot right now. High ground looking at a lot of what's going to be going on over there. Toyo's got Falcons that are getting pretty close to them in the north. They've got Bestia that's running a split just to the south of them. So these wider splits, as people are moving down the Tulin hillside, are going to have some level of control, but with the size of the circle, there's a lot of dead zones that teams have to be cautious if they're running these splits that could be crashed on very quickly.
Yeah, and the Athletes of Christ have given themselves a great vehicle for a crash if push comes to shove, getting that BRDM on the outside of the circle, and it's something that we saw a lot of at PGS, teams hanging on the edge, getting the flare, and getting the BRDM in because of the opportunity it gives you in the late game. Now, Matt, is where I want to call back to the start of the show. You said one of the things that this Athletes of Christ team have done to impress you through the cups was their ability to adapt to the new meta of the BRDMs, of playing for the late game with it. It's no surprise, is it, to see them getting it on a map like this, especially so early on.
Yeah, and then look at how they're using the river line, and they're using the BRDM to kind of draw a couple of shots. It's become a thing where a lot of professional players, like what we're looking at with Danny, not going to take the shots. They're not going to reveal themselves yet. But LFP on that side flanked position for Last Breath is going to be a problem. That means that Last Breath doesn't get to hold their high sides, and that's going to provide more movement and more capabilities for really Athletes of Christ to time this one out. Athletes of Christ doesn't want to commit yet because that's what they were worried about. Circle Pops goes very far to the west, and now it is going to be Pest Control, who's desperate for points, going to have a lot of friends running up to their doorstep. But look at the cluster that's going to happen in the north, and specifically to the east, because this is about to get dirty. This is a very hills and valleys kind of circle.
Yeah, that hill just to the east of X10 that What It Takes are moving into is a great position for them to play, provided not enough pressure comes from the south and they can just focus on moving in towards the circle. Capitan here for Toyo. I give this team a lot of love earlier on. They have not lived up to the hype so far. 5 points on the board so far for Capitan and Emmy and the rest of the crew, but maybe this is their map. The circle is theirs. They're inside of Danqing. And speaking of BRDMs, What It Takes, another team with that vehicle in their pocket moving in on the southern side.
This is going to be a weird circle because it could technically support, I would say, 12 teams. But due to the way that sightlines are going to be playing and the way that teams are going to be just trying to jockey for the good points inside of it, I wouldn't be surprised if we're down to probably like 8 to 10 by the end of this one. Falcons do spot the rotate. That's going to be a bit of harassment. Toyo's trying to throw that over into the direction of where Last Breath's trying to rotate. Falcons don't want to overextend into it too much, but this is going to put them on the external for the next potential circle in the way it's going to set. Furia instead opted into a much further western wrap, and yeah, Last Breath, you just can't come into the circle late like this one. It's going to be pretty open, and again, that verticality is just going to be too vulnerable.
Yeah, R will fall. Gustav working in tandem with Kick to get those shots off, and Last Breath really struggling so far. They've kind of been running on asthma tonight. They've not really got any breath going so far. 5 points on the board, and Falcons looking to deal with the rest of them. Fixin is going to get them from the other side, and Last Breath, it's really gone badly. They're done. They're out. They fall in map number 4 of the night, and Toyo get a point, which puts them above Pest Control.
Big call out on rotate. It's going to be Athletes of Christ way down to the south. You can see Fana did bump into No Way in front of them. No Way does get kind of the gatekeeping position, but there is the capabilities for Athletes of Christ to go more west. But hey, maybe they don't want to go after that. They now know who they're going against and how the vulnerabilities are set. It looks like Tony might be trying to set this one up. Haven also could go for a wrap more into the north, which is what he's looking like to set up. This is not a retreat from position. This is Athletes of Christ getting ready to pounce and setting up new angles. They already have the information fed over. Look, they know exactly where the counter moves are going to be happening at. This is so cleanly played right now.
Yeah, and the squad wipe here for them too will just secure their spot into the finals next weekend. Lopez, he's got the Panzer at the ready. Good nade from Haven. That'll get the knock on DNL now. And Haven will use the BRDM to just get a little bit of health back up. Jumps on out. Gladiator is dealt with. Back into the BRDM once more. Even more cover. And you're getting that vehicle fully repaired for the next phase of your charge, where you go up the hill and it looks like a res might just be being stuck here behind the Blanco. And if Haven doesn't get here quick enough, he's going to try. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Perfect. Pancake. DNL is DNFing this one.
This is what I love about Athletes of Christ, is they just have this hit and run strategy, no pun intended, after just watching them run over somebody. They get their knock, then they retreat, then they kind of pick it apart. They kind of vulture a fight. They find the vulnerabilities and expect the counter response for somebody to go for a res, to play inside the smokes, and somebody else takes a new angle of approach and uses that as a vulnerability, so you never get a chance to firmly reset. Meanwhile, back over here to the east, Rock, there's not too many different ways you can get to the circle, but you found one. Question is, where are you going to stop? That dip is going to be about all you're going to find, and it is not going to feel good.
Look, it might not be as good as other dips, but it's theirs, and they're comfortable with it. Now the new gen All-Stars, though they might not be comfortable in their spot, they're coming under a huge barrage of utility from Pest Control. They're going to flee back a little bit further in the coop. Another double dash of nades thrown towards the Pika bus, but Finna is going to stay there in the front line. He hops into the bus. He's going to get on the move. It's smoking. It's not far off blowing, but they managed to survive for now. And you spoke about Rock's dip. It is getting obliterated by great mortar strikes from Santi.
That's what I would be worried about in this position. Pest Control, though, momentum for them if they can find some area of approach. Rock's just, RBN's just like, where's it coming from? They just won't stop. Poor man's gonna have PTSD after this game. New Gen All-Stars, at least it does get a knock back onto what's going on over here. K-Mine going down, and look at the throwables just coming out from New Gen All-Stars to stop Pest Control.
Pest Control through there has got no value for it, but New Gen All-Stars are getting a much better return on the investment. Toyo do manage to pick up 3 of those kills, so only 1 landing for the New Gen All-Stars, but it frees up that little bit of space here.
Not really, because look, Toyo wants to try to take that position. They're caught looking other side. Athletes of Christ Haven was actually on a rotate over here, and that's what drew the attention. And now New Gen All-Stars gets a great line down onto Toyo because they couldn't take the spot.
Yeah, Fakeson's going to have to go for that res now, as the other 2 players will need to force the issue and press the issue with the nades on the other side. Pins are pulled on those nades. Falcons now are soaring over this way too. They're going to play on the ridgeline. That's a problem for the rest of these players. And Fakeson, he wants to go for the res, but look at Gustav leading again, once more being the front line for this Falcons team, Matt. And it's in such a change for them having a new point man.
It's going to be intriguing to see how this push comes out, because they're walking into essentially a potential death funnel right now. There's 2 squads in front of them. There's another squad with Bestia back behind them, and they are just boldly running right into the face of Toyo. This is just a, okay, damage control circle. Let's try to get the kills. Let's see if we could try to third party this, but the fights are ending too fast. New Gen All-Stars isn't going after Toyo anymore, so this is a Falcons contained fight, and they just roll right into the shield. No fear.
Kickstart gets it done. Yes, Gustav will fall at the hands of Souls, but for Toyo, it is going from bad to worse. You've only got 9 points secured so far. You have 1 player left alive. That player has got his back to the blue. You've got Bestia, Falcons, New Gen All-Stars, and the Athletes of Christ all compounding and convexing onto this position on the edge of the zone. And Tig's got a job here. He has to hold back Bestia while the rest of the Falcons focus elsewhere.
Bestia doesn't want to just run right into this circle. There's too many open angles from high ground, most notably from duel, so that's forcing this into just being a clustered firefight. New Gen All-Stars having to deal with Athletes of Christ on their approach. Bestia now starting to get more contained onto this angle. New Gen All-Stars somehow just trying to hold the line the best they can, but there's just threats from every single angle. The Doritos just aren't enough. It's going to be on one side of it, at least spotting out Bestia is going to a new side of it, but here comes Athletes of Christ. They're just going to jump right into the face of New Gen All-Stars. That's going to open up a path for Falcons back behind it, and this has just turned into a mess.
Everybody is getting involved in this battle now. So many different teams in the kill feed. What it takes. Bestia, New Gen, Athletes of Christ, Rockfell, LFP is going to drive right towards that Dorito. Tries to flatten him. Jumps on out. Athletes of Christ are eliminated. Bale manages to win the fight. He steals the BRDM, but it's about to blow, man. Just use it for cover. Let it blow up. Use it for cover and see where you can go from here. But somehow Bale stood tall.
Holds together just a catastrophe of firefights. It is just everybody in the lobby felt like they were going for New Gen All-Stars, so just managing to survive to this point is a victory. Falcons finding some kills. Victory for themselves. 7 kills right now, and it looks like Bale's just trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to do this? I think he's trying to figure out if he can get enough covered position to play from, but Falcons dropping Doritos of their own, also dropping some nades, some more damage, and Bale... There's just too many people coming after you. Nothing you can do. Kickstart's going to be the one that finishes it out, but Falcons still got to keep going. Just barely inside the circle.
And look at what they've created. They've made a position that you can play with all the Doritos, with all the destroyed vehicles. They've actually got a nice spot now on the edge of the circle. So the final team standing on the east is going to be the Falcons. What it takes, not too far away from Furia, but Bestia are just on the other side of the hill from Falcons. But Bestia's bigger problem right now, Matt, could be Duel. Playing on the north, and just as I said, I think Duel are firing shots in towards the South Americans.
Duel has to get a bit careful here because they still have Purdy Curdy alive for Team Liquid back behind them. And they're just now clustered on a roadside. That makes them pretty vulnerable. Bestia is going to be just to the south, has been drawing a lot of attention. Center of the circle is going to be X10, is the way that the new one has popped. That means that our external teams down to the south are going to find some way into it. And Falcon's position that they just fought for are feeling way better. And this dip for Bestia, I mean, it's got 50,000 cars in there. It's some type of cover. That's what I was thinking. Kurt finally going to pop off. Goes down, at least gets a couple of knocks onto Duel.
Yeah, and if I'm Bestia, I don't know what I want to do. I think the circle shift actually means they'll stay. Had the circle gone against them, they might have pushed on up and tried to get it, but now they're forced to play the position, and Kurt couldn't get the extra kill or two he needed. Jumping back into the zone, Furia pushing towards What It Takes. 2 players have been felled. Sneak attack and Morns on What It Takes side are trying to hold it. The blue is there. But the BRDM once more being that mobile tank that they need. But you jump on out and Kraken's going to get deleted by Morns. 2 Furia players down at the wall. Draft getting brought back up by BL. But What It Takes, with a circle pushing away from them, they need these points, Matt. 9 points so far, but no kills yet showing up on the leaderboard for this map.
And they know that they can't leave Furia back behind them. They can't go eyes onto the circle with this damage just waiting to slap them right in the back. So instead, looks like Morns is going to at least get some idea that there's going to be a shift away. Snaker still playing it quiet as Falcons still holding down their Dorito fortification. I mean, that's like a family-sized bag of Doritos right now. That's not like one of those like little snack size ones.
I don't share them. Family-sized bag is just big bag for me. I don't know about you, but family size is a challenge, right? I don't. You know the Joey don't share food, man. Yeah, you know the Joey don't share food thing from back in Friends? I don't share Doritos. It's as simple as that.
I mean, there's not a lot of space on them, and they are so tasty. Gotta ask. Nacho or Cool Ranch?
We don't have those flavors in Ireland. We have cheese. We have cheese and hot chili. And Cool Original. That's what we have. Exactly. And they're different color bags as well.
Okay, high side on this one. Furia, you got to get into the circle. Still have to deal with Wit right on top of you. Runs out. Marnes gets a knock on a Draft King. He's on fire, though. BL's going to be able to finish it out. But the cost is going to be Draft King goes down. And now BL's going to be limping into the circle along with Snakers.
Yeah, and well, Copenhagen Wolves are eliminated, but it's more placement points for them. BL picking up that extra 6 kills on the board for Furia and a little bit of zone to work with on the edge of the circle. X10, they have got the pick of this positions in the circle. All 4 players alive. The next shift works in their favor, and the Falcons now find themselves pushed out now too. That next shift working against them. Oh, this is going to be a fun one to watch as Sharp Shot gets caught out by Shrimsy.
Falcons fighting their way into this one too and nail 9 kills, and they still cannot seem to find the circle. Right on the edge of it, looking in. X10, while you mentioned it, does have a great position to play from. Haven't been able to stack together a giant amount of kills. Picking up 3 right now. Potential for more going into it. Duel high side on this one, finding some much needed points, making it the later stages of it, but don't have much cover to work with. They're just going to have to shoot their way through. Downside is, remember that dip that Bestie was playing? Now they got to deal with that.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, it's just a few meters the wrong way, a little bit closer, and all of Bestia are gone. They're playing that close together. That one well-shot mortar will see them removed from the lobby. The Copenhagen Wolves are trying to just hold them in the spot. A nade from Sharpshot is money as it lands right on top of Benya, and it's going from bad to worse. And the problem for Falcons is if you push Bestia, you go right into the waiting arms of Duel.
This is, yeah, a problem. I mean, Duel is just essentially playing pool right now. They're just lobbing nades and letting them go down inside the hole, making it complicated for Bestia. X10 is doing a good job of holding back Duel in some fashion, while Bestia is throwing everything they've got to try to hold back the Falcons. So it's just everybody kind of playing a game of chicken right now as that throwable landed right on top of Bestia. It was only a stun, though, but if that was a frag grenade, that would have spelled the end of it. Looks like Falcons, though, navigated the smokes well enough. Should be able to get right on top of the crouching Bestia, who just can't even get up to look and see what's happening, is finally hearing the footsteps, the threat that is so close. Duel still just peppering bullets on top of him.
You like frames? These players don't like frames. Flash grenades and smokes absolutely everywhere. Frogman had a nade in his hand, but he is going to get caught on out. Shrimzy steps over with a Groza, and you give Shrimzy a Groza in a line, it is as good as done. Duel now need to repel the rest of Falcons as Kane will confirm out that kill, but Falcons get back into that exact same dip, and you just see how hard it is for Duel to actually land shots and get an angle into it.
Tiggleton's playing pretty far back behind all of this. Here's the thing, though. Whenever we saw Bestia, they were already kind of in tatters due to a couple of the amount of fighting that's been going on, the amount of shots that they had to take. Duel in this high ground position has to leave. So Falcons know this. They know the fact that Duel is just playing a waiting game right now that's going to last for about another 40 seconds. So they just got to keep their numbers ready, and Falcons will be ready to take any type of firefight that gets closer in range. Tig's still playing kind of the anchor position just in case something goes wrong, as the way that the circle is popped is going to force this to be a lot more onto Duel to figure out how that they want to deal with it. X10 still just kind of watching this one. They don't have sight lines on anything that's going on right now, except for whenever maybe somebody from Duel peeks their head just a bit too far to the south.
3 kills for X10 so far, plus the 4 placement points has moved them into 9th spot. 5 behind Duel, who have just continued to pick up points. Just 2 kills, but again, 8th spot is enough to see you qualify through. But for X10, remember what we said earlier, you have to win the games that you're supposed to win. X10 need to win this game because it will give them such a good spot going into the final map of the night, but they got to be careful. I think BL could be a huge problem for X10. Oh my god, those great shots by Calnix.
And this is the problem. This is why Duel's been focused on those dips. And hey, look at Shrimzy's going to help out a little bit. Duel, you know, have at least some type of path that you can try to get in the circle. But if anything, it feels like Falcons is just trying to set up a feast for a bit later. You know, maybe a snack for whatever comes after what's going to be going on over here. BL also spots out what's going on with X10. Hassan's going to take him down. Now Falcons return their attention to what's going on with Duel, as it is just pretty much a spattering of squads trying to move into a very desolate circle.
Yeah, and the res will occur. Calnix will be brought back up onto his feet, but in 3v4v4, this is going to be a fun finish. Duel continuing to move down the road, using what little cover that bit of high ground can provide for now, but for X10, the circle is starting to force them out. Center dot is not controlled by any team, but the one thing you can say is Duel are probably the closest here, Matt, but again, look at it. Outside of this compound, it's just open ground with a rock and a tree.
Yeah, but there is that wall that X10 can play that'll put him pretty close to the center point right now. So Duel knows that they're not going to have too much to work with here. With the way that the rock is set, that's pretty close to center. So X10 has some pathing, but they don't want to take it just yet because Falcons would probably have a great sight line onto them. Duel is just trying to use their vehicles along tree sides. And good double shots coming up from Duel. Now Falcons in a lot of trouble.
But what can they do about it? Ammo is becoming a bit of an issue here as well. You can see Penta, for example, running nothing but 5.56. A good molly is tossed, but Tig gets the shield on up. But the smoke will need to bloom a little bit further. Gustav needs to get back on his feet. Klausera will fail Shrimsy, but Kane gets the off angle on the Kalnix as he drops for the second time. The blue zone. Tig, he's not going to have time to get Shrimsy up, so Shrimsy is just scouting to work out and body blocking these players, but Tig is going to fall. He should fall. He will fall. Falcons are down and out, and it's down between Duel and X10 for the win. It was 8 against 9th, now 6 against 9th, and oh my, Duel were trapped, and X10 take the game.
I mean, just a very efficient set of circles managed to navigate well. Didn't have to do too much. You just have to control the territory around you, force everybody into the dips. Works out well. Other side of that, though, Falcons found a feast of kills inside that game. Duel making it into the later stages. Toffees, Duel making it into the top 8? What year are we in?
Okay, so that's what I was excited about talking about. The Falcons will say, you know, they had a good game. We said maybe they get messed with by another team, and they said, hold my drink. I'm going to take care of that and knock it off the board. So that's out. Duel, though, I love it. And let's talk roster, okay? Because that's what I think is working for Duel. Wooly, Kine, who I don't really know that much. Pentalol, Ira, who, if you remember the old days, was a legend in his place in his time. And then Sharpshot is like the mysterious 5th player who comes and goes as he pleases. What I love about this roster, though, Matcha, is the personalities feel like they were made for each other. I feel like Penta and Wooly have meant to be playing on the same field for as long as I can remember. I love this idea of Iro, if you've ever met him in person, is just chill. So I think that this is a team that has a lot of potential. Like, this might be an actual duel that we get to see in finals instead of sort of just coming to, what was it called? Contenders back at NPL?
Yeah. It was touching the line a lot. But you are right. This is an extremely chill team. I would be curious to hear what the comms are like. If it's just going to be like, hey, guys, somebody just knocked me. Like, it's going to be something like that, right, Gibson? Because I couldn't imagine that's going to be like, oh, go, left. There's a full squad over there.
Nah, there's a team over there. I think I got a knock, one shot. You know, I think the only problem when it's so chill is sometimes you don't get the pressure over it. A team can be 3-way. I think there's someone close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to mix up chill with passive, right? Like, when you talk about Penta, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
The guy's got gas. He played one of the best rosters in the world. He made it to top 2 in the world. Like, this guy knows how to play. And so I think bringing that into the duel format looks good, man. And they're comfortable. They're playing well. That said, you know, I'm not going to say it's the be-all, end-all. They're still just barely in the top 8, so we'll see what happens as this flips over in just a second. For me, the big story here, Falcons getting 16 means that they are no longer at risk of anybody sort of messing with them to keep them out of the final. And what this generally means is this pops up, and I'm interested in your take on this, Gibson, is almost all. We have 7 regional partner teams. And the only 2 that are not, I would say, sitting pretty securely in that top 8 are 55 and Toyo. Like, and that to me, especially when we go through those rosters and talk about, I believe it's Toyo in particular, I'm blown away at their performance. It's unacceptable beyond just underwhelming.
Yeah, they've not been good enough, and it's a surprise. Like, they did qualify for international events last year. Players played at PNC, but they're just not showing up. Like, they don't seem to have any chemistry with the changes they've made to the roster, and I think one of the things that set the old Toyo roster apart was the fact that they played so well as a team. 55, I'm not as surprised. Like, I don't want to be mean, but it feels like as a partner team, they have been underperforming for, 12, 18 months, no matter what version of a roster they bring into it. The big surprise for me is Liquid. Like, they're just about hanging on to top 8.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, like, 23 points for Team Liquid. Kurt and the rest of the squad will be the first ones to tell you that's not where they should be. This is a squad that I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if they know what's going on right now. We've seen them have good moments today, but not big moments. And I mean, something has to happen this last game. Something has.
Nobody knows, Matrim. Nobody knows what's going on. It's been a year and a half almost at this point. They added Nomi. He's got the heat maps. Like, they should have the strategy. They've got the coaching. They've got the raw skill. I mean, even the departure of Sparking is not that big of a loss in the terms of how their team is formatted. Like, he's a great player and will do really good on Brock. Their replacement is also incredibly strong. Like, I don't get it, because I know they're playing, right? Like, I know that they were double blocking the entire way to PGS, and then they have these moments like at PGS 3 where you're like, there they are, there you are, Peter. And then it falls back off, and okay, and I'm just going to come out there and say it. I'm a Liquid fan. I've been a Liquid fan since Scoom was on that roster back at the beginning of the Star Ladders, okay? That's when when Ibiza and Scoom were on that team with, I think it was Samty, and I forgot who our fourth was at that point. I was in love with them. I still love them. And now, to see us with such a great roster, with such a great team, finally in North America not being world champions, it kills me inside. And with that, it's time for a break.
Port Desire, a city that don't belong to anyone, but everyone wants a piece. No laws, no oversight. Just the jungle creeping back in, both the vines and the people. The mayor stepped in where the government couldn't. Said the city needed order, and they'd be the ones to bring it. Keeping the peace on their terms. I walked away from it all. Kept my hands in dirt instead of blood. But desire is a fickle mistress. The city won't let me go. It won't forget my name. I asked for nothing, and they still came and took everything. The mayors and anyone that stands in my way, every last one of them. They're gonna learn something real simple.
It is time. The rubber meets the road. The final game is upon us. The top 8 must advance. The rest have to dance tomorrow, where only the top 5 go on and on to the third day, where only 3 get a chance to be in the grand finals to play against the 8 who make their names here right now. That said, it's not shocking the 8 that look like they're going forward match them for the most part. 7 regional partner teams, 6 of which look like they should be advancing as long as Liquid stays the course. Let's talk about those 2 teams that are not regional partners. We talked about Duel, but we have been ignoring, for some reason, and only because they've been so good, the Religious Boys.
Yeah, okay. Well, whenever we talk about Athletes of Christ, we were talking about how dominant they were during the Cups. This is a squad that also is, yes, renamed and a couple of small changes here and there, but it's still a squad that's performed internationally before in the past, so it's not the biggest shock that they're coming in extremely strong. This is, I guess, a rebirth is a good way to describe it whenever we look at the Athletes of Christ, because it's very true. Squad that sometimes played a little bit more, I guess, passive now has found a lot more confidence playing back through this series and is not afraid to take a firefight and is very technical in how they approach it. It's very run and gun, backstabby, and really technically pretty to watch.
Let's talk for this roster for just a second as the game gets underway, Gibson, because I think that a lot of people, obviously it's a new name, right? And if you're watching Cup, you're familiar with it. But in case you're joining us for the first time, this is not an unknown group of players. This is Haven, LFP, Fauna, and TNY, or Tony, as I like to call him. They are players who have been around for a long time. That said, I feel like they have been individual standouts on different rosters, that maybe this is the synergy that we've been looking for. What is it about AOC that people seem to love?
I think it's just their adaptation and the way they've changed their style of play. Yes, they've got highlight reel players. Fana is probably one of my favorite players to watch in all of the Americas right now. I think he's just a breath of fresh air with how he takes on gunfights. But I think what people are really impressed by is there's no fear. Like, you see teams coming in and, you know, newer rosters or maybe teams in cups, and they play really well whenever you don't have Falcons or Liquid in the lobby. But they just keep playing the way they play. They're not changing their style based on what teams are in the lobby. They back themselves in gunfights. I think that they're in with a real chance of upsetting the fray and being that next big South American team that might just squeeze in to some of those PGS spots, because remember, that's what all these players are playing for.
Also, considering two regional partner teams from South America are struggling to stay up on top of this relevancy board, there's always that means there could be a door open. As the game's starting to get underway, we're back in the grassy pastures. I think we're going to be having a chance to sit down with Wooly in just a minute or two to talk about his position on the team. And again, Liquid has been so up and down, as has, sorry, it's not Liquid, it's Duel, once upon a time. Now he's with Duel. They've been up and down. Do you think they have the staying power to make the cut this time, Matchroom?
Oh, that's always the question with Duel, and you never, ever know, because they're playing smart. They're playing technical. We know that this squad's got a lot of history to it and has the capabilities, but sometimes there's just a falter that happens at weird spots and causes them to completely crumble at the later stages. I'm eyes on the mental.
Well, let's hear what he has to say. I believe Wooly should be
I would just say
up and ready.
Be consistent,
Give us his
knowing
insight.
like when to take fights, when to be aggressive, when not to be, working together well, things like that. What we did differently, it just comes down to being more consistent. We were just, just read our situations better, more aggressive sometimes, knowing when to do stuff, when not to do stuff like that. That's really the main difference. Like, usually when you play bad, you're not doing certain things right, and is what we did when we did not play well. The in-game moments that benefit the most is definitely just those where everything is kind of chaotic and you're in mid to late game and there's a lot of, teams that are fighting around you and maybe attacking you, and you have to make a quick decision on what to do, and it has to be done very quickly. That's really the situations where people with a lot of experience thrive. The ideal result for us is finishing near the top. We feel like if we play well, we can finish towards the top of the leaderboard, so that's what we're going for. Any situation where we can just have the jump on people and have clear info and be aggressive and just, wipe teams is the main thing. In each situation that allows us to work together, where we can set ourselves up to work together as a team. Any situation where we can work together as a team and take fights and just have good teamwork and, get kills. Everybody on the team is really good fraggers.
I love it. It was Liquid, right, that Wooly was coaching, I believe, for a while, about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I miss hearing his insights. So having him do an interview where we get to hear a little bit of that Wooly voice, leg out strategy is always something that I absolutely love hearing, Gibson.
Oh, you can tell he was a coach. 100% he was a coach.
Every time he talks, like, okay, coach.
And most other esports coaches can get involved during game with other things, but you've got your coach in your lobby. But you know what Falcons don't have? They're IGL. He's been knocked, and Falcons need to put in some work here if they want to win this gunfight against 55.
Tiggleton high ground up on top of it all, while it's going to be just kind of corralling on the outside of it. 55 manages to regroup with the way that this is going to be set. Got to keep an eye out for that third party, though. A couple of friends look like they might want to be getting involved, and that could be the new Gen All-Stars taking a couple of pot shots, at least forcing 55 more into a desperate position. Outside of this one, also Duel spots out Glock, so Gustav going to be down from Gabriel. This is just kind of turned dicey. 4 squads in, making a third-party crash coming out from New Gen All-Stars on the hunt for some points as 55's like, fine, you could all just come with me.
Yeah, the C4 and the Panzer's there as well as Nightavon gets himself in a dance with Tig, and Tig is going to win that one, but Tig, you got to sprint away. Cool guys, don't look at explosions, and Tig is going to run right into it. He falls at the hands of 55. Falcons' night is over. 55's day one of playoffs is over. They will be in the action tomorrow. And NA are like, come on guys, you could have left some points for us.
Yeah, you get a good point in position, though. It's not too bad. The only problem is now you still have to deal with Athletes of Christ who have decided that they kind of want to get involved in this one. Is we had 5 different teams getting a piece of what was going on there. Sure, why not? Nugent All-Stars, if you needed loot, plenty to be had because there's 8 crates here.
Mm-hmm. And you'd like to hope that at least some explosives are left. We saw quite a bit used there as we hop on board with No Way. 6 points. At the moment, Matt, the 8th point cutoff is 23 points. We all know that the average map win is like 17 to 20 plus points.
No way.
So, no way?
They
You disagree, or are we talking about the team here?
I'm talking about the team. This is No Way crashing a compound. I haven't seen this in an early game come out from them in a
they
while.
run
This is
away.
a confidence play.
Yeah, they run away. What they normally do is get crashed and fall back, but I like it. You're 6 points, absolutely nothing to lose here, Matt, and you know that you need not just a kill, but a kill with, or not just a win, but a bunch of kills to go with it. So I think that they know they need to play under the aggression, and on a map like Erangel, everybody knows how to play it, so they could make something happen if they play this right.
I'm trying to figure out why this is going on, because we're down on Millie, are we not?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this is just going to be more of a, we want to try to take out some other points, try to get some momentum on our side. There's a lot to be had with this last game, specifically if you know that you're going to be playing tomorrow as well. I'm intrigued on what we've got going on over here. Is the rationale behind why is not so much as I just want to make something happen.
Oh, DNL,
And they're doing it.
he's making something happen right now, and that sneak attack fall to his knees. What it takes are getting a little bit broken up here by No Way. Now, DNL, as you can see, doesn't have a lot of ammo to work with. Slabby on the roof is holding the angle, but this is a big fight. Lucid now holding the stairs with the M4. He's got a level 1 vest and a level 2 helmet, and if the No Way players can stack up properly, there could be a huge issue. Now, Slabby, he tosses a great stun in. That allows and enables the push, and a great trade from No Way will deal with Lucid. Morns did get sneaked back on his feet, but this is being really well played by No Way.
I mean, this is very cleanly and efficiently read by them. Martin's going to try to turn it back around, and he's got the shotty. No Way had so much that was working for him until suddenly Marnes shows up and is like, nah, bro, I'm not going to go down like that. What it takes finds a ton. Sneak attack on the other side of it. And now what it takes with the momentum in this, getting retaliation back. Slabby's got to retreat. Lope's now down, and it's just one up.
Yeah, and this is a fun one for the players left remaining. Now, Morns has the double barrel at the ready. That smoke wasn't quite what it needed to be, but Slabby with the AUG, he doesn't have the firepower that Morns has. He also can't peek the door, because if he does, you've got the off angle being held by Sneak. So Slabby has got himself in a really tricky spot now, and he uses that little bit. He sprints across right into the double barrel. I think Morns baited him. Morns baited him by firing the double barrel, knowing that he would sprint off the back of it. That was really clean by Morns.
And it was a mind game, very well established off of it. Now we've got eyes back into the circle, as that was, again, down in Sosnovka. Just kind of an ego fight that can happen sometimes. Way up to the north, you can see, of course, we got Pest Control over here, and Wolf rolling in. So Wolf looks like they've kind of scouted around what's going to be going on over here, but you always have to assume that this quad, where we can see Pest Control playing from, is going to have some level of defense that is going to go on around it. Georgia Pole being a part of this circle means that we still have Everest, we still even have Fairy Pier in here. There's a lot to play, so plenty of space, especially given the fact that we only have 50 people alive.
Yeah, that's a crazy point. It's phase 1 in Erangel, and there's 50 players alive. Matt, what has happened this map in the last 2 years? Because this was always a sensible map. It was the map that you could expect calm. The map that you could expect really good strategy and just teams playing for the late game. But this map has just had, like, all of its settings thrown on its head because 50 players left alive after 10 minutes is nuts.
I'll say it a different way. I didn't like Erangel because the way it was being played previously was cowardly. Everybody was afraid to make a push. Everybody was afraid to do anything because they thought that they would get third-partied and somebody would jump on them. And then eventually they just said, screw it. I'm going to actually start playing aggressive and playing it the way that I want to. And now it's evolving into being like Miramar, being all the other maps, and becoming extremely exciting because the way that Erangel is set, everybody knows it so well. There's all these terrain pieces that complete. Yes, it's more open than Miramar and some of these other maps, but that's what led everybody to being cautious. They were like, no, it's a sniper map and you keep it at range. Nah, it's still just a PUBG map, and if you can get close and in somebody's face, you can get points off of it. And if you can take care of your enemies and get yourself into a better position for the late game, all the better. And we're finally seeing it being played that way.
So what you're saying is the more chaos a map brings, the more enjoyable it is to cast.
Nah, I'm saying the better it's technically played. If everybody's just sitting around doing nothing because they're afraid to do anything, then nobody is actually making proactive plays or trying to take control of it themselves. I do like the chaos. I'm not arguing that right now, but I don't think that anybody on the map, except for that weird thing that was happening on military base, is technically a bad play that we've seen so far. Even the third and fourth parties that we saw down around the barns.
Matt, you can put makeup on it, you can put a dress on it, but what you're saying is more action, more violence is good, right? I'm not having you say, I'm not having you dress as upset strategy. You love the violence, and so do I. And I love this new Erangel world we're living in. And that new Erangel world does not include Falcons by the look, or by this, things. If you're joining us late, they went down really early as Tiggle decided he would run into the C4 because they've done enough work tonight. But, Matt, let's talk about the teams on the cusp. What it takes, Bestia, Liquid, X10, Duel, all the way down. And it's crazy this, but all the way down to 16th are fighting for those last couple of spots in the playoffs.
I mean, we have seen a 23-point game in their very first one. It's very possible for somebody else to do it yet again. Way Pest Control and Last Breath have been playing, haven't been able to find it just quite at the time. Good news, though, for cusp positions if you're a Team Liquid fan presently in 8th place. They made their shift over to Everest, as they often do, and now are playing the foothills just to the southwest of it. They've got Pest Control that are just to the north. Fury are going to be wrapping in back behind them, so great position to play. Over to the west, X10 coming off of a good last game, though, now has to deal with the Copenhagen Wolves, nipping at their heels, very close to position as X10 was running a 2-2 split that is being regrouped as they have heard the vehicles around them.
You know what? I think that H1's enjoying this new team to IGL, right? Because with the Falcons, it was basically drop in the center of the map on every single map in the Americas. I think he's enjoying this. We don't really drop center. We drop in different spots and playing the map. I think he's enjoying it. He looks like he's making really good calls. He's getting his team into position to wins. I think the change of scenery might actually be really good for him in the long term as well.
Yeah, a lot of IGLs have said that it's easier to IGL teams that they don't play on a lot because you're just always making the smarter call. You're telling somebody where to go. You're not thinking about what they're good at or what they prefer to play or how they do any of those other things. You're just looking at the chess pieces and you go there, you go there, you go there. And it allows for a new defining way of playing. And H1 looks like he's definitely enjoying it right now. Team Liquid, though, trying to get into a great position for these later stages, but two other squads all had the same idea. Pest Control is going to be right back behind him. Lank making landfall. Bestia is going to bypass it. Doesn't want to get too involved. Team Liquid playing for their livelihoods. Pest Control doing the same.
Yeah, Pest Control need to win this fight. Liquid, just a few more points will see them climbing that leaderboard just about enough. Cowboy gets the first knock, and it's a barrage of nades and mollies and everything they can throw to hold back K-Mine and Hot and Spicy. That's a really good BZ thrown the other way. That'll force Liquid a little bit further back and around, and by Joshy, the time. He's even carrying the med kit so he can get his teammate back on his feet a little bit quicker. The Blue Zones forcing a momentary standoff between these teams. But I can see New Gen All-Stars not too far away. This fight cannot last a lot longer than this without teams getting interested, Matt.
Yeah, it's pretty contained right now. Just Fury up to the north could be something that's going on. Maybe X10 if they choose to get involved. Team Liquid is playing this southern side of it because they know that everybody on the high ground can't do too much more. That's why Luke is playing so bold right along the way that this is set. Good read on terrain. And now with the way that this has been prepped out, you can see that Luke wanted to go for the shot, but with Cowboy going down, this has gotten a little bit more dicey. Conf goes down, though, and now momentum swings back into Team Liquid's favor. How hard do they want to push? As DraftKings is taking shots into the backside of Pest Control.
Yeah, I think Liquid are going to prioritize getting the 4 back up rather than pushing to confirm that extra kill for now. So Pest Control will get back up to a 3, Liquid back up to a 4. They've got the numbers and they've got the firepower. Now that they've got 4, Luke can step up in, but he doesn't quite land that tank fist through the window the way he would want to. Yes, that's what Panzerfaust means, but the barrel is a little bit more accurate from Luke. He gets the knock on the K-Mine. Pest Control looks like they're going to be playing tomorrow, but Hot and Spicy gets the knock. It's all down to Curtin. Look, it's a 2 versus 1 match, and can either of these teams stand tall?
Oh no, DraftKings playing this more aggressive, and also Nugent All-Stars has realized that there's a potential third party. Looks like they were trying to get over there, but Pest Control does finally go down. Team Liquid, though, getting picked apart too many different angles. DraftKings going for his play right now, and Team Liquid needs a moment to reset, trying to get their meds back up. Kurt goes down. Santastico pops him at range. Are you kidding me?
This is not good for Liquid. Cowboy, the only player left standing, and Cowboy will shut down DraftKings. He's going to try get that extra point because every point matters as they'll go to 28. He could now maybe get Luke back up on his feet as the rest of Furia begin closing, but they're too far away to help out that teammate. So Liquid should get back up to a 3, but those 5 points, I think they're enough.
There's too many teams coming in. Look, X10 is now moving into a pounce position. Duel on the other side. The Rock's coming in hot and heavy. Remember, they just got the knock at range. Santastico hit that shot on a Kurt from a million miles away. Team Liquid just trying to get as many players back up as they can. X10 kind of taking some covering shots to slow down Rock, and it is going to be Kalnix that gets the knock on to Sparking, slowing down the push. Rock, no! Santastico, that's the worst timing for that you could possibly do.
That's why we throw utility in first person, Santa. You can't make mistakes like that. You've basically put yourself out of the fight momentarily. You knew Sparking was down. Liquid now have 3 players back in the fight, and this is worst case scenario for them. Circle did shift south, so this is a really good position for these teams to battle for. But X10 were Liquid's biggest allies there, but the fight will continue. The Molly's tossed up. That's a much better Molly, and that'll trap Luke on the balcony.
Slow down everything. RBN coming in from the low ground position, and Cowboy has to retreat from the other side of it. Franks does get the shot on Luke. 12! Big explosion coming up from Sparking. Takes himself down, but takes Cowboy with him. And now it is down to just 1 for Team Liquid in so much trouble. Rock chasing in. Team Liquid's managed to pick up a couple of kills, though, so at least getting some breathing distance away. 24 points right now is the cut line as Team Liquid falls with 28.
Yeah, Liquid will be down and out, but the 28 points should be enough because remember, there's enough teams below them that you'd expect that they should comfortably be in that top 8. At least you would hope so. But if Duel and X10 and the likes of Best, you start picking up points, suddenly that becomes more of a problem. Furia sending it in now as well, but oh no, what did he hit there? That's really going to slow momentum, and Furia are dealt with, and Rock pick up a couple more points. 10 teams left alive now. And if you're Liquid, you start maybe sweating now because we're close to the placements and the teams are not that far behind.
Yeah, the teams on top of you going down early makes this much more nerve-wracking if you're a Team Liquid fan at this stage. Dueling the externals of this one, Copenhagen Wolves, just trying to see how much more they can get. X10, though, in some trouble due to the way that this has come out. Bestie on the other side of it, going to take a couple of shots in, make it more dicey. Rock in a great position. A lot of this is going to be going on over into the northwest, where we can see the Bestie is going to be playing. Nugent All-Stars are going to be over here. Of course, Rock. Duel is playing out into the fields right now as Last Breath going to be down to the south, and going to be pretty close to Athletes of Christ. Toyo in the center of it all.
Yeah, and now we're seeing Mortars go towards X10 as well, and X10, as we pointed out, they're in 8th place right now with 1 player left alive. Them falling would be a bit more comfort for Liquid as it's one of the teams in the chasing pack, no longer in the position to cause a problem. Getting ready for that next circle, though, as Shrek Swamp, Shrek's Hut will be kept locked into this circle. And New Gen All-Stars, with the position they have, Matt, inside that observatory tower, don't rule them out of making a big move here as well.
It's very strong, very good to defend. Crossfire position, though, is going to be the interesting point on this, as high ground on it for Copenhagen Wolves, going to be just trying to take out X10 as fast as possible, but just refusing to go down. this has kind of turned into a high ground, low ground situation where most of our teams just kind of hunkering around and using the hillside that's going to be the center of it as the containment point so that way they can get their independent firefights. And Snaker's just no fear charging in there, doesn't even care about Molotovs.
Yeah, well, if his teammates, his friendly fire, Vox will take him down. Now, another nade's tossed towards Franks, but you know this, you should know this is a solo player trapped inside this building. So basically, they're getting close enough. They want to play the trade game, but they want to do it in such a way that you don't sustain any more knocks that force another team to push this direction. Shots fired in from Rock, but Franks is still holding his ground. And for Franks, for his team, he needs to get as many, 1, maybe 2 kills confirmed.
Rock keeps prepping up some mortars, and it looks like they're kind of eyeing this direction, but I like how Franks has already abandoned the buildings, and I'll play the outer wall. It's safer with the way the smokes are set. Wolf does manage to get into the building, so pretty good for right now, but notice that there's starting to be a couple of external firefights, and that's going to be X10 going down. Not a lot of points on the board for them, so that's going to be holding down 8th place with 24 points. Bestia and Wit nipping at their heels.
Yeah, and now Team Liquid are seeing just dual Bestia, what it takes. NA, Toyo, and Last Breath all still alive and behind them in the leaderboard, but with X10 falling first, it's a buffer. It's one team that can drop on out. Athletes of Christ bringing the fight to what it takes. Lucid will be the next one to fall. This is all occurring on the edge of the circle, and what it takes are eliminated. Even more good news now for Liquid as Bestia managed to climb their way inside the top 8, knocking X10 out. And for NA, yes, they can sit and they can wait, but at some point, Matt, they need kills to go with the placement.
Duel already down to just 1. Hillside firefights over into the east, getting far more dicey. A little bit of back and forth. Last Breath should be able to line in those nades pretty good. Gotta be careful though with the way the car fortifications are set. Wooly doesn't want to overextend too much on the high ground around this one, but here's the vehicles. He's got the opportunity to go for a spray. Nade coming out. How close is he gonna get? Really just very little fear in this one right now, but just can't run out. He doesn't want to sacrifice.
Last Breath eliminated. Toyo wrapped in and got that one dealt with. They'll clean up the other kill as down falls Penta as well, and Wooly is getting flanked by Rock on the other side. Emmy trying to keep the pressure on, but Rock might steal this kill away. Good shots from Wooly, but it's Souls that confirms the kill. And here comes Rock and RBN. Bestia moving up another point up to sorry, they didn't actually, because it's the 17 that fell, but Santa will fall back now because here come the new gen All-Stars. They need to make something happen, and they need to make it happen now.
Big problems as Toyo finding 5 kills. New Gen All-Stars finding more, trying to see if they can get something out of it. Wolf, though, continuing to just decimate everything that moves around them. Bestia in some trouble, just trying to limp their way along, but Wolf has to firefight their way in. New Gen All-Stars up on top of the hillside, looking down while Rock is pushing into Toyo, but has left Kawazine back to deal with Wolf. Bestia still has to deal with the Athletes of Christ, who are running up the hillside, other points around this one, and could backstab New Gen All-Stars if they're not careful.
That circle shift, though, has just caused havoc because no team is on the south side of the zone whatsoever. Everybody in the northern point of the zone. Copenhagen Wolves, they find themselves at the most northernly point. Fana, the most southerly player for the Athletes of Christ, but he's not inside the zone. Sparking will get the knock on the Vox, and every player that falls is a point that is taken away from New Gen All-Stars and their potential climb up the leaderboard. Toyo with the same. Sparking gets the knock on to Fixin, and Toyo in trouble on the side of the circle.
Toyo's been playing the Eastern approach. They've got one pretty far out with Capitan. Let's play it slow. Copenhagen Wolves, though, just steamrolling their way through this one. Say that they came in with a mission today is taken lightly as they're trying to make as big of a statement as possible. Rock, other side of this one, finding 5 kills to work around. They've got to at least get a foothold in the circle, but it's going to be right underneath of New Gen All-Stars. And New Gen All-Stars just has too many threats around him and too many different angles of approach, so has had to stay just hunkered down inside of the observatory. That means that 16 and 15 is the total points that we're looking at between Toyo as well as New Gen All-Stars, and Eyes at 27 points.
Remember, 10 points for a win, but some of those placement points have already been distributed out to these teams. New Gen All-Stars with just 2 players up, hoping to get the res on the third as the Wolves flood gets closer and closer. RBN using the shield as well. He's got a little bit of a line of sight on the Toyo as they begin to move their way up onto the edge of this rock, but with 35 seconds left until Phase 7 shifts. We'll see which way this one is going to go. And I'm keeping an eye here, Matt. Capitan is playing the anchor. He is keeping an eye on the southern side of the zone while the other two players focus on Rock.
Understanding the way that this circle has lined into the terrain is extremely helpful right now. High ground on top of it is the observatory, but you can see that the way that the hill slopes down is perfectly following the way that the blue zone is coming in. So it's forcing everybody slowly up these hillsides, but there's still a couple of recess points to play from. Toyo's been playing it slow. They now have to go after Rock. There's not too many other options. The way that the circles pop, though, maybe they don't have to. They can retreat back. They've got that ridge line from the road that's going to be directly to the south of 3 of their players. Rock now has to make more aggressive push back in. Flood's still alive from Wolf over on the side of this one. Could backstab either Athletes of Christ or New Gen All-Stars, or maybe even Rock, depending how the flank goes. But Toyo feeling great about this circle now.
Yeah, they're in such a good spot, and remember, a win here could be enough for them to steal 8th place away from Duel. So Liquid should be safe now, unless something crazy happens between NA and Toyo. But Athletes of Christ moving up the hill, Rock doing the exact same, and all these teams need to flood their way inside the circle, whose only inhabitants are the members of Toyo. And they've got to be careful too, because there's every world where they could overextend here, Matt, and cause a problem for themselves.
Toyo coming back into form, though. They read the circle well. They're still keeping control on the angles that they need to. If a firefight breaks out in front of them, yes, they do need points to continue to climb, but they have opportunity and placement points right now. There's still 5 teams up, and Flood looks like he's so ready to backstab. Rock realizes the vulnerable on one angle, looks back up, gets a knock onto one, but gets some damage back onto RBN. This is going to stall out. Toyo hears that, reads it. NA also spins it back around. Athletes of Christ, though, I think are reading this and realizing maybe it's better to come in from the south. They're not playing aggressive onto this.
Here's New Gen All-Stars push, though. This is their big chance. They sustain a knock, and a great nade from Iga will hold back Kawazine. Can't get out the window. Managed to get one. Can't get the second now. New Gen All-Stars, they get the kill on the Rock. A bunch more points, but can they get the reses off? Nobody fell to death, so they should be able to get 1, 2 up, but the blue zone is closing oh so quickly. Look at how close it is right now. Get Beal back on his feet. Shinboy has the jammer pack. That'll buy him an extra few seconds, but I don't know if they're going to do it here, Matt. They have to just let's throw the player. Toyo get them, and Toyo now are just a few points away from moving into the top 8.
Toyo has a pinched angle off of the repositions on the circle. They know exactly how Athletes of Christ are going to be running into this one. So, with this, Toyo so close right now, 22 points. If they can secure the victory, they are into the top 8, but they have to make it happen here, and they are set up in the positions to try to find the right angles for it. Athletes of Christ, though, they will not go down lightly. This is a strong squad. Fanta takes a ton of damage. It's just him and Tony. Toyo realizing they have the angles that they need, but the smokes are coming out and stalling it all.
Win and you're in for Toyo. It's as simple as that. You get these 2 kills and you are playing in the finals. You don't have to go through the slogfest that is tomorrow. 2 Athletes of Christ left standing on the edge of the circle. Tony with the FAMAS. Fana, oh my god, Tony is deleted by the nade from Emmy. Fana is taking damage on the other side. Toyo win. Toyo progress through to the finals, and Duel will have to play tomorrow.
Just a massive come up. We kept talking about it all day, over and over again, that the cut line wasn't that big. A squad could just find their pop-off game, get their momentum in toffees. It happened. Toyo picked it up.
In this instance, it was Toyo that had their resurrection as they come out with the chicken dinner. It was necessary. I love this, though. Gibson, 6 of our 7 regional partner teams have proven they deserve to be in the top 8 and advance. Toyo leaving it to the very end, though.
Yeah, it's no surprise to see them get in. I expected Toyo to make it, but I didn't think that they would go into the last map needing a win. We criticized them. We said they weren't playing like the roster we'd expect. The teamwork wasn't there. They didn't seem to be rotating together as a group. They finally got their act together, though, when it mattered most. And I think for 55, though, they have a lot of work to put in, because I think it gets harder tomorrow, because let's not forget, you've got Rent Free joining us with players like Gat, Spizzler, Badger. Like, that's a really good team coming into the fray tomorrow.
It gets harder in that I think it gets weirder. And there are some good teams that come along with that. But they did, 55 dropped the ball. They go out ninth on this one. They don't have enough to make it through. I will challenge this a little bit on Toyo. We did talk about them 100%, and you kind of say they turned around on this one. It felt to me a little bit like they let everyone else turn it around for them, especially in that end game. They played tight. To me, it was a risk, Matt. There was a point where that 33 fight was going on. I was like, I don't know, man. Like, what? How do you not push this and guarantee some points? Because to me, leaving it for that win is scary.
Yeah, I mean, we saw players falling like dominoes around the Team Liquid house.
True.
Like that was crazy over there. I don't fault Toyo for playing it because if you remember, they were playing that external section just out to the east, and it has that ridgeline hill.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to run up it. And so they'd just be running into a potential murder box coming out from New Gen All-Stars. So sometimes you just get the circle the way you want it to play, and they did enough over on that side. Like, we saw them hold out several teams that were over there. They didn't overbite, and sometimes that can happen. You just try to take on too much. They could have maybe taken on a little bit more. I'm not wrong. I don't disagree with you there, Toffees, but they took on enough to get themselves where they needed to be. Look at the way that this ended up falling as far as this goes and score at the bottom. What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's check that out. So remember, top 8 will advance to the finals. Team Liquid leaves it for the last second there at 28, 28, and 28. Toyo, Bestia, and Team Liquid. 3 teams, Gibson, that just barely made the cut line, duel at 27. That means any of them could be the one going home. And every single one of these rosters is made up of storied players, right? You all know Team Liquid. We just talked about how Toyo's got great players. Bestia is Pippa, Vinny, Benha, and Frogman. Like, all 3 of these teams should not be 28-point teams, in my opinion, Gibbs.
They shouldn't be, but you look at Liquid's performance internationally so far this year, they've not quite got it going. And the funny thing is, if it wasn't for Kurt and the points that he picked up, Liquid wouldn't even be here. So you got to give a lot of credit to what he was able to do. But I don't know what went on. Like, that crash, Liquid could have easily been eliminated had we not seen a huge play. Like, that rock push could have went the other way.
Well, in fairness, though, I mean, like, Team Liquid couldn't really handle, like, it's not Team Liquid's fault that they couldn't handle like 4 teams crashing them in circle 2. That's a really weird situation that happened there.
I'm just tired of Kurt breaking Wooly and Penta Lul's hearts over and over again as they advance to the final, and Duel and the boys have to come back and fight tomorrow. And that is the key. Just because you lost today does not mean you are done. It just means your road gets a little bit harder. Our 8-lane freeway is going to get a whole lot tighter as only 5 get a chance to advance tomorrow. And if, Athletes of Christ forbid, you don't make it tomorrow, you're down to 3 possible teams going through on the last day. And that, to me, Gibson, is the ultimate nail-biter. Terrifying to find yourself on that day 3 play.
You don't want to be there at all. Like, day 3 out of 16 teams, the lobby is going to be crazy because you're not really going to know where teams are going to be, how teams are going to rotate. It is going to be dangerous, but it's going to be chaos, and chaos is a ladder. Like, I think some team that nobody has circled as making it to the finals might just scrape their way through that final day.
It's going to be wild. I look forward to seeing what Dots does. They're always fun to see come in. Matt, looking at tomorrow, are there any teams joining the fray that you are excited about?
I mean, Fate's a very good squad. We've seen Injected have some big moments. Like, there is all these squads that have been able to manage to make it into at least playoffs day 2. I would even say, like, including a playoffs day 3, have managed to find some successes inside the cup. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be intriguing now that we see this kind of move back into being a Cups lobby. It's almost comfort food for most of these teams. They know how they expect this one versus having to play against those regional teams.
That's a good point. Do you think that shifted it a lot, Gibson and Matt? I know you guys have been watching the Cups. You know, it's been interesting to sort of see, I hate to say words like lower tier because it's not. These guys are all playing at the highest level. But teams that are not as globally established, let's say it that way, as these 7 who joined the fray. Do you feel like it changed the meta a little bit today, Gib?
I don't really know. I think that like Athletes of Christ played their game. I think Copenhagen Wolves played their game. So all in all, I think this is the strongest lobby you would have gotten, barring maybe Rent-Free joining tomorrow, which again they qualified for this based on 2 days and they managed to get into the day 2 of the playoffs. I think it just gets worse tomorrow and it gets even harder on day 3. Less spots up for grabs, more teams clawing and fighting their way up. I think these teams that are in are delighted to get through on day 1.
Nice. Well, let's talk about a team that gets through on day 1. I'm delighted to have him here. It's time for our interview with Snackers, the lead on the Wolves, the man who works, the man who plays, the man who travels, and the man who frags. I'm going to keep hyping him up till they add him to our screen. Sometime he will show. It is the Snakers! How you doing?
What's going on, Toffees?
Good, man. Not much. All right, so let's talk to you. Are you still working full-time? This is my first question. It's an easy one.
Yes, I am. I've had a pretty stressful week, actually, honestly.
Yeah,
This feels good.
Were there lots of data breaches and security problems that you had to deal with?
Something along those lines. There's always some issues to deal with.
Fair. So we got a full-fledged working man, which honestly is my favorite part of the Cup series because that's where we all started in esports, right? The grind along with the grind. Wolves, you guys are looking strong right now. You got Trevor on the back. You got the rest of the crew. Seifu steps aside. H-Win comes in. How's it feel?
Feels really good. Like, obviously we played with Seifu for a couple months, and he's absolutely insane. But when someone like H-Win comes available, who is one of the undisputed GOATs, everyone knows that. And he already showed that today. Like, he's cleared impact on our team. And this is like the smartest team we've ever had, I think. Which to me is kind of crazy since I retired a year ago. Now I have H1 on my team after he just got third in like every event last year. I don't know, and I like the team in general. Like, everyone's super chill. They're fine with me kind of being like half in, half out. It's like sometimes I show up to scrims, you know, I don't want to give it my all. Like, I just had a long day. Like, I'm kind of just vibing. And then we show up to games and do our thing, like always.
I like that. I like that they get that. Matt, you got any questions for the Snack Man?
I got 2 of them right off the get-go. Keeping it simple off the start. Okay, we mentioned H-Win. We talked about kind of the way that the rosters are swapped between you guys and Falcons on a regular basis. Is there bad blood there? Is there a statement that you guys are trying to make? Because I know the fact that the Falcons have kind of loomed above you guys here and there at different points, and you've kind of wanted to get them in your career as well. So,
and they stole your brand
you're going for? That's true.
Well, I mean, there's always bad blood when someone gets dropped from a team like this. Like, obviously, there's internal beef here and there that no one ever actually knows about. But it is funny to me that we were rivals for years. And now, I mean, we played with Mime in the past, and now H-Win, who's like the rival leader, is now on our team, and he's obviously motivated to come out here, qualify, beat Falcons. And it kind of has us all banded together now, and we all have just one goal of making it and just doing what we know we can do.
I mean, it's a great start today. You got to admit that. Secondary question is, with H-Win coming in, you talked about with Seifu's now sitting on the bench. Isn't that stressful to now have essentially Seifu that's chilling on the bench that is a looming giant waiting to just eat somebody else's roll up and maybe make them go to the bench? Like, this is created like kind of a do or die environment for you guys, hasn't it?
In a way, like, I mean, if anyone's underperforming significantly, we of course have Seifu on the side. And then he would also take my spot at PGS. And like, he'll come to every event. But it's a cool thing for him too, because if we do qualify and go crazy, he gets to now go to LAN, which he's been wanting that for a while.
Does he get a full split though?
Of what?
Exactly.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad. All right, Gibson, what do you got?
Well, look, Snake, as you know, I've always been a fan of you, even if my accent struggles to say your name, or maybe you enjoy it, I don't know, but...
Snackers.
Yeah, you're a snack. But the question I kind of have is, you've played with a lot of players, a lot of IGLs, you spoke about the rivalry with H-Win. Do you think he's enjoying not having to play the same game all the time? Because you know, when you play with Falcons, you drop center of the map, you make the same rotates 99% of the time. Do you think he's enjoying seeing the game from a different perspective, where he's dropping somewhere else and he's getting to, you know, IGL different players with different play styles?
Well, first thing, he's not calling our team right now.
Okay.
Vox is still calling.
Okay.
Like, he's kind of in the in the support, like giving his ideas role, like making sure everyone's on the same page, like just all the little things, which is the most important part about the game at the end of the day. But I think it's good for him. Like he has a change of pace and perspective now, because I'm sure his team got pretty annoying over the years, especially like dealing with the kickstart and
Give us the tea. Do it.
Some personalities. But so I'm sure it's nice for him coming on our team, because we're all really chill about it. We're all just like working together. Like there's no beef at all going into it. Like there's no toxicity at all. We're all just vibing, just trying to do good. So I think that must be refreshing for him.
That's fair. That's fair. You know, we won't go into too much tea. I think the conflicts with that pairing, as well as yourself, might be well documented at this point, but understandable. This game is about synergy. It's about getting along and just sort of sharing a mindset with the people that you play with, whether that's your grind set or otherwise. What I want to know, though, is when you guys wiped the Falcons in game number 1, can you repeat the words that were used on comms? How was that for you?
Well, there wasn't anything crazy on comms because we were just locked in the game. But I mean, well, after the game, we were kind of just like, holy shit, that feels good. Like he got 5 kills game 1. I'm pretty sure we killed Falcons, and it's like, oh damn, like wait, we could actually, like we're a good team. Like shit, like it's cool for him that he can actually just kill them. But I'm sure that feels really good.
Yeah. Especially with the short notice. You know, Gibson, you brought up, I wonder if he's liking the system. It's been like 2 weeks, right? Or a week, I think, at this point. So
yeah, we've played like 4 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 4 days.
So you guys have only played 4 days together at like
actually wait,
level.
sorry, 3 days.
Wow. Well, okay.
Yeah, they've been
And Vox is calling. I love that. So H-Win adjusting to the system. We're going to check back in with you probably at the finals, because it looks like you guys will keep doing well. And I'd love to hear how the system, if it's changed at all, having a new player integrated into it. But it has been fun watching you guys. Now, is there anything that you'd like to say or shout outs you want to give before we send you back to your crew?
I guess shout out all the fans that are probably following our team now that H-Win's on it. Shout out my teammates for putting a bunch of work in. They've been sitting on calls hours and hours each night, VOD reviewing and prepping, doing stuff I don't have the bandwidth, mental bandwidth to do. They're doing all the work in the background. So shout out them, and Trevor, of course. Yeah, that's it.
All right, good shout outs. Have a good day at work. No, it's the weekend, so maybe you get to enjoy the weekend off and hang out with the boys and go back on Monday. We will see more of you in the finals. Enjoy your weekend.
Yep, thank you guys, you too.
All right, so as we get Snakers out of here, we're going to reflect upon the information that was given to us. It's a fascinating journey down memory lane there with the Falcons, Oath, Wolves, back and forth, Sonics, like the name changes, the fact that they even stole the roster or the brand at one point. There's a lot to it. And the funny part to me is how well they get along in person, but that's always going to be in the back of your mind just a little bit. So it was fascinating to hear. As we get ready for tomorrow's matches, anything else from the interview stand out to either of you guys? Gibson?
No, just how comfortable he sounds, right?
Yeah.
He danced around some difficult topics there, I think, and handled himself well. Look, I think Snakers is a good guy. You're always going to get some good info, but he's never going to go and throw anybody under the bus either. But the main thing to take away from me is how comfortable they all sound, or at least he's making the team sound.
Matchup.
Flip side of me, I'm just going to say, Snakers, I'm so sorry that your interview was essentially an H-Win interview, because that's where a lot of the questions were focused. I know, but I mean, come on, dude. It happened like a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
You can't blame us for wanting to know what the hell's going on, right? But on top of that, it's going to be intriguing to see the dynamics from the squad, especially given the fact that they created some waves last year. And coming out now, right at the start of this year, setting a good precedent, coming through, finding some success right off the get-go, that's a great sign, even if from one ex-IT guy to a guy that's presently in IT. It's a struggle bus, man. I know. Sometimes it's just like that. I'm glad to see that you got some successes going on, because whatever IT goes wrong and you have a bad week, boy, it's a bad week.
You know, I loved hearing the interview. I loved hearing that prep. I do wonder, with 3 days of preparation, what does the future look like? Does the honeymoon end? I also worry for Vox a little bit, right? You got H-Win in the background, one of the best IGLs in the world. In fact, Trevor, after he coached him at PNC, sat down at dinner with me and said, I just watch H-Win IGL. I know why they're winning now, because he respected his calling so much. But I love Vox too, so okay, I believe in you, Vox, but you gotta worry. This is me apart from my friendships over there. Seifu is in the wings, right? If H-Twin takes over calling, then what does that mean for the team and the roster as they move forward? There is going to be some shakeup, so I think if the team can stay solid and get through that together, this is a really, really interesting roster with a lot of staying power. Also, you know they like it, Gibson, because I just did an entire Snakers interview that was hard with difficult questions, and he didn't mention TPP once. He was so focused on how much he loves having H1 on the team. So to me, that speaks volumes coming from Snakers and the guys there. So congratulations to the Wolves. They played so good. I loved seeing it. Now, that's it for today. When we come back tomorrow, we're switching it up. New teams enter the fray. 8 are out. The top 8 will go on to the finals, and the rest start to slay it out for only 5 spots to go to the grand final. You have to be here tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. Before we go, I like final thoughts. Gibson, I've been building up to this. Give me those final thoughts.
Today was fun. The top 7 of the 8 partner teams made it through, which is what we expected. But tomorrow is going to be a crapshoot because it's just going to get a lot messier, and there's going to be a lot more backstabbing on these teams.
Matchroom, final thoughts?
Momentum, man. Squads that didn't get a chance to qualify today now going to come into tomorrow with a little bit of pressure relieved, having the big dogs off the table. 5 spots still remain, but only 5 games to do it. You have to be top of your game, cannot falter, and I cannot wait to see who we get.
Today was all about flocks and packs and their ability to dominate. Tomorrow is fascinating to me because teams built around solo stars start to take the field, and the question will be, with the big pack hunters off the stage, who will come out? Who will shine? Who will take the opportunity in this lobby to set a name for themselves, whether it's qualifying tomorrow or building a path to one of the greatest America's teams that are available? We shall see. Tomorrow, the action is back at the same time, at the same place. So don't forget to be here. And until we see you then, play more PUBG.